Chapter 662. What do you mean? Qin Feiyong and Fatu were puzzled. The mansion master was the highest authority in the 9 states. It could be said that they contributed greatly to the prosperity of the 9 states. Logically speaking, after they succeeded and retired, they should enter the imperial capital to retire. But why did the old woman say that it was impossible to stay in the imperial capital for a long time? Let's talk as we walk. The ugly old woman pondered for a while, raised her head and said to the two, then turned around and walked slowly along the passage towards the exit. Qin Feiyong and Fatso looked at each other and followed silently. Wolf King and Black Dragon Snake were also unprecedentedly obedient, remaining silent along the way. After walking for a while, the ugly old woman finally spoke. Actually, there is another way to enter the imperial capital. What way? Qin Feiyong was surprised. To cultivate a group of talents. To put it simply, whether we, the old people guarding the altar, can enter the imperial capital has something to do with you young people. If you young people can win the 9 states war, then we can enter the imperial capital, or enjoy our old age in the imperial capital, or get an official position. But in the 100 years before you, almost no one successfully completed the 9 states war. There were even several times when the people of the spiritual state were completely annihilated in the 9 nether underworld. I really can't wait any longer. That's why this time, I used the black poison to force you to win. The ugly old woman said. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyong muttered and asked, then, Senior, can you enter the imperial capital now? Yes. The ugly old woman nodded and said with a smile, so I have to thank you properly. Fatso's eyes lit up and he asked, how do you want to thank me? The ugly old woman pondered for a while and said, you can pick the herbs outside. This, Qin Feiyong and Fatu looked at each other. Then their eyes became hot. Wolf King, who was lying on Qin Feiyong's shoulder, was drooling. One had to know. There were countless medicinal herbs in the Butterfly Valley. Furthermore, they were all extremely rare medicinal herbs. It could be said that this was a huge treasure trove. On the other hand, the black dragon snake coiled around Fatso's wrist looked at them suspiciously. What kind of medicinal herb could make these 3 fellows so excited? Looking at Qin Feiyong's expression, the ugly old woman couldn't help but shake her head and laugh. Although you are allowed to pluck as much as you want, you should know when to stop and leave some for old man Ren. Qin Feiyong was stunned and asked in confusion, what does this have to do with the old master? Of course it's related. When I enter the imperial capital, the heavy responsibility of guarding the altar will fall on him. In other words, this will be his territory from now on. The ugly old woman laughed. Qin Feiyong frowned and said, Senior, do you mean that the old master also has to step down? That's right. The people who guard the altars must be extremely powerful. The prefecture lord is, without a doubt, the strongest existence in the 9 great provinces. You don't have to feel unjust for old man Ren, because this is the rule set by the emperor. Moreover, old man Ren has long wanted to step down. You may think that the prefecture lord has great power and is very dignified, but it's actually very tiring. In addition, old man Ren also wants to go to the imperial capital to enjoy his old age. If he doesn't step down and become the guardian of the altars, then his wish will never be fulfilled. This is the sorrow of being born in the 9 great provinces. The 9 great provinces originally belonged to the Great Qin Empire, and we are all citizens of the Great Qin Empire. However, it's as difficult as ascending to the heavens to enter the imperial capital. The ugly old woman sighed deeply, and there was a trace of injustice in her tone. Fatso said in his heart, Boss, Fat Lord thinks that the Great Qin Empire system really needs to be changed, because it's too unfair to the people of the 9 great provinces. Indeed. Wolf King nodded. Change? Qin Feiyong shook his head and said with a smile, it's not as easy as you make it out to be. These systems are set by the emperor of each generation. Other than the emperor, no one has the right to change them. Fatso chuckled and said, then we'll wait until you become the emperor to change them. Don't talk nonsense. This is a crime of treason. If it falls into the ears of someone with ulterior motives, it will lead to a fatal disaster. Qin Feiyong shouted in his heart. What are you afraid of? It's only a matter of time anyway. Fatso curled his lips in disdain. Qin Feiyong helplessly glared at him, then looked at the ugly old woman and asked suspiciously, after the old man Ren steps down, who will take over the position of prefecture lord? I guess that old man Ren already has a suitable candidate in mind. However, he can only recommend it to the emperor. In the end, it's up to the emperor to decide whether it will succeed or not. The ugly old woman said. Qin Feiyong nodded and lowered his head to ponder. Who would the old man Ren's candidate be? Wang Hong. If one were to judge based on strength and character, Wang Hong was the most likely candidate. Unknowingly, the 3 men and 2 beasts left the passage and arrived outside the small wooden building. At that moment, streams of aura entered Qin Feiyong's senses. He looked up and saw Lu Xingchen and the others standing in the air, whispering to each other. Wang Hong and Jiang Qianqing were also among them, their faces full of smiles. The ugly old woman said, Wang Hong, Jiang Qianqing, you guys go first. I still have something to ask Qin Feiyong and Fatso to do. Yes. Wang Hong and Jiang Qianqing replied respectfully. Then, Wang Hong looked at Qin Feiyong and transmitted his voice. Kid, after you're done with your business, go and see the prefecture lord immediately. Okay. Qin Feiyong replied in his heart. Then, Wang Hong opened a portal and quickly left with Lu Xingchen and the others. Strange. Fatso looked at the portal and frowned. What's strange? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Fatso said, aren't Wang Hong and Jiang Qianqing also in the 9 nether yellow springs? Where did they come from? The ugly old woman said, they are only escorting you in. After you leave, the power of the rules of the 9 nether yellow springs will take the initiative to send them out. Qin Feiyong asked, Senior, did you also participate in the 9 regions Great War? Of course. Every prefecture lord is chosen from those who participated in the 9 regions Great War. But they are all failures. Because those who succeeded all went to the imperial capital. The ugly old woman said somewhat awkwardly. In other words, you were also a failure back then? Haha, so you're so bad. Fatso suddenly laughed out loud. The ugly old woman's face darkened and said coldly, do you believe that I won't cripple you? Fatso shrunk his neck in fright and immediately shut his mouth, but his face was red. Don't shoot your mouth off. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at Fatso and sighed. Those who succeed enter the imperial capital. Those who fail become prefecture lords or commanders. In fact, as long as they can come out alive, their achievements in the future will not be too low. It's just that the price is too high. Yes. Countless people enter the 9 nether yellow springs one after another. But how many survive in the end? But what can be done? It's just that this world is too cruel. The ugly old woman sighed deeply, then shook her head and said with a smile, let's not talk about it. Go and pick the herbs. Okay. At the mention of herbs, Qin Feiyong, Jiang Qianqing, and Wolf King were extremely excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. But just as they flew into the sky, Qin Feiyong suddenly thought of something. He looked down at the old woman and asked in confusion, Senior, you just told Wang Hong and Jiang Qianqing that you have something for Fatso and me to do. What is it? Idiot. The ugly old woman rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyong, then turned and entered the small wooden house without looking back. What do you mean? Fatso scratched his head, his face full of suspicion. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment, then said in realization, I understand. She said that to send Lu Xingchen and the others away. Send them away? Fatso was stunned. Think about it. Lu Xingchen and the others are the same as us. They have also won the 9 states battle. If she only lets us pick the herbs and doesn't let them do it, won't they say that she is biased behind her back? Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Haha. Fatso was stunned, then he laughed and said, I didn't expect this old witch to be so scheming. A row of black lines immediately appeared on Qin Feiyong's forehead. He angrily said, that's enough. If your disrespect angers her and she doesn't let us pick the medicinal herbs, I won't forgive you. Hee, don't worry, she can't hear you. Fatso laughed mischievously. But before he finished, the ugly old woman's cold voice came from the small wooden house. Although this old woman is old, my ears are still very good. Damn Fatso, you better be careful. Hearing this, Fatso's face changed and he smiled apologetically. Did you hear that? Be careful. Qin Feiyong glanced at Fatso with schadenfreude and flew towards the sea of flowers. TSK. Fatso raised his middle finger in disdain and quickly followed. In the sea of flowers, hundreds of flowers bloomed and the fragrance of flowers assailed the nose. The herbs were like slender and elegant young girls, swaying in the wind and gushing out rays of light. As soon as Qin Feiyang entered the Sea of Flowers, he called out Lu Hong and the pangolin. When the black dragon snake saw the herbs, it was dumbfounded on the spot. There were so many herbs? No wonder Qin Feiyang and the others were so excited. For a moment, Qin Feiyang and the other two, Wolf King and the other two beasts, began to frantically sweep through the Sea of Flowers. "Boss, come over and take a look. What kind of herb is this?" Suddenly, Fatso's surprised voice sounded. Qin Feiyang walked over and looked down at the herb in Fatso's hand. His eyes immediately lit up. This medicinal herb was a finger tall. Its entire body was green and crystal clear. There were 3 cloud-shaped leaves on it, emitting a hazy radiance. Fatso urged, "What exactly is it, tell me?" Qin Feiyang swallowed his saliva and said, "This is the spirit cloud grass, one of the main ingredients for refining the spirit sea pilv. I'll go." Fatso looked at the spirit cloud grass with shining eyes. The spirit sea pill could be used to cultivate a shattered qi sea. As one of the main medicinal herbs, the spirit cloud grass was definitely priceless. "Qin Feiyang, I also found a fruit that I have never seen before." On the other side, Lu Hong also said at this time. Qin Feiyang hurriedly ran over and looked down. The excitement on his face could not be concealed. Chapter 663. Lu Hong looked at Qin Feiyang's expression and said with a smile, "It seems that this is another precious medicinal herb. It's not just a little precious, it's very precious. This fruit is called the dragon saliva fruit. It's a medicinal herb used to refine the 9-turn dragon blood pill, and it's second only to the first-ranked dragon blood." Qin Feiyang was extremely excited. He originally thought that the 9-turn dragon blood pill's medicinal herbs could only be found in the imperial capital, but he didn't expect to find one here. He scanned the Sea of Flowers. It was hard to imagine how many more of these medicinal herbs there were. He came back to his senses and shouted, "Quick, quick, all the medicinal herbs you haven't seen before, don't leave a single one behind." After an entire hour, the few of them finally stopped sweeping and gathered together. Qin Feiyang asked, "How's the harvest?" Fatso held a Qiankuan bag and waved it in front of Qin Feiyang. He said with a sneaky smile, "Together, it's almost half a Qiankuan bag." Qin Feiyang was overjoyed when he heard this. Then he waved his hand and led everyone into the castle. He walked to the altar, opened the iron box, and took out the pill scripture. He said to Fatso and Lu Hong, "Categorize the medicinal herbs. If you encounter any medicinal herbs you don't know, read the pill scripture. Pangolin, black dragon snake, stay here and help." After that, he added another sentence. "Understood." The two nodded and immediately squatted on the ground, getting busy. Qin Feiyang also left the castle with Wolf King and went to the small wooden house. In front of the courtyard gate, Qin Feiyang stood respectfully and cupped his hands. "Senior, I'll take my leave first." "Go. When we enter the imperial capital, I'll let Old Man Ren inform you." The ugly old woman's voice came from the wooden house. "Thank you, Senior." Qin Feiyang bowed and expressed his thanks. Then, he walked into a teleportation gate. Mansion Master's mansion. In the conference hall, the old man sat on the top. Wang Hong and Jiang Chenqing sat on the 2 seats below. Ran Wushuang, Lu Xingchen, Dong Zhengyang, and Shen Mei stood in the center of the hall, recounting what had happened in the Yellow Springs. Although the old master and Wang Hong had experienced the Great War of the 9 prefectures, they still couldn't help but shudder when they heard the narration of the 4 people. Whoosh! Outside the palace, a ripple suddenly appeared in the void, and Qin Feiyang and Wolf King appeared out of thin air. "Brother Qin, Brother Wolf King, congratulations." "That's right. Now, not only will you be able to enter the imperial capital, but you will also be famous throughout the 9 great provinces." As soon as the guards outside the hall saw the man and the wolf appear, they immediately surrounded them. Wolf King smiled proudly and said, "Are you envious?" "I'm not envious, I'm very envious. We dream of going to the imperial capital, but unfortunately, we won't have the chance in our entire lives. Brother Qin, Brother Wolf King, when you go to the imperial capital, you must work hard. Don't embarrass our spiritual state." The group of people smiled and complimented. Wolf King patted his chest and said in high spirits, "Don't worry, when we reach the imperial capital, we will still be the ones bullying them. The group of people couldn't help but laugh. However, with this man and Wolf's lawless personality, they might really turn the imperial capital upside down. Brat, what are you doing outside? Come in quickly. At this moment, the old master's dissatisfied voice sounded in the hall. The guards surrounding Qin Feiyong and Wolf King hurriedly retreated to the side. Qin Feiyong smiled at the group of people, walked to the door, and gently pushed it open. Then he walked in and bowed. Greetings, Mansion Master. The old master glanced at him and said, Close the door. Qin Feiyong turned around and closed the palace door. He walked to the side of Ren Wushuang and the others and looked at Wang Hong and Jiang Qianqing. He cupped his hands and said with a smile, Seniors, how have you been? We're still the same. As for you, I heard from Wushuang and the others that you showed off your might in the Nine Nether Underworld. Wang Hong teased. I was lucky. Qin Feiyong laughed dryly. Wang Hong's face twitched, and he said, Mansion Master and I were also very lucky back then. Why didn't we win? This. Qin Feiyong thought for a moment and smiled awkwardly. Maybe it's because we were a little luckier than you. Hearing this, the old master, Wang Hong, and Jiang Qianqing couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. The old master said with a pleasant expression, You contributed greatly to our spiritual state's great victory this time. Tell me, what reward do you want? This old man will give it to you. Really? Qin Feiyong said. Nonsense. This old man always means what he says. The old master glared at him in annoyance. Wang Hong chuckled. Qin Feiyong, you're the first person who dares to question the Mansion Master. You've got guts. Qin Feiyong laughed dryly and looked at the old master. I want a 5th grade alchemy fire. The old master's face darkened. What kind of joke was this? The highest level of alchemy fire in the spiritual state was a 4th grade alchemy fire. How dare he ask for a 5th grade alchemy fire? Wasn't this clearly making things difficult for him? You don't have it? Qin Feiyong couldn't help but feel disappointed. He thought for a moment and said, Then give me 5 or 6 perfect battle arts. As soon as he said that, everyone looked at him in shock. Was this guy purposely picking a fight? The old master was so angry that his beard blew and his eyes widened. He said angrily, Just pretend that this old man didn't say anything. The Mansion Master is acting shamelessly. How shameless? Wolf King mumbled. What did you say? The old master's eyelids twitched, and he glared at Wolf King. Wolf King picked his nose and said lazily, Brother said that you're old but strong, unparalleled, unrivaled and unparalleled. The old master clenched his fists and was about to go crazy. In the end, he held it in and waved his hand impatiently. All right. All right. This old man will let you go to the treasury and choose something. Treasury? Qin Feiyong and Wolf King were stunned. The old master didn't explain and looked at Wang Hong. Take them there. Ran Wushuang glanced at Qin Feiyong and Wang Hong, and said unhappily, Grandpa, you can't favor one and discriminate against the other. The old master looked at her, then at Lu Xingchen and the other two. If it weren't for Qin Feiyong, would you be able to come back alive? This old man has always been fair and impartial. I will never bend the law for personal gain. Ran Wushuang immediately lowered her head. Lu Xingchen and the other two looked at each other and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. The old master looked at Wang Hong again and said, Keep an eye on them. Don't let them take anything else. Yes. Wang Hong nodded and got up to open a portal. He looked at Qin Feiyong and Wolf King and said, Let's go. There must be a lot of treasures in the treasury. The Wolf King chuckled and rushed into the teleportation gate first. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled. He followed behind Wang Hong and entered the portal under the envious gazes of Dong Zhangyang and the others. The next moment, 2 people and 1 beast landed in the sky above a mountain range. Qin Feiyong scanned the area below with a surprised expression. Below, the mountains were undulating, the vegetation was lush, and a rapid river ran through the east, west, north, and south like a giant python. And right below, on the top of a mountain, sat a huge ancient castle. The ancient castle was completely black, as if a peerless beast was lying there, emitting a cold aura. Wolf King looked at the ancient castle and said in surprise, That's the treasury? That's right. This is the back mountain of the Mansion Master's mansion. The 10 commanders usually cultivate here in order to protect the treasury. Wang Hong said. Qin Feiyong took a closer look. Sure enough, there were many small and exquisite wooden buildings in the mountain streams around the ancient castle. And in the small wooden buildings, he could faintly sense a powerful aura. Let's go down. Wang Hong waved his hand and landed in front of the gate of the ancient castle with a man and a wolf. Then, Wang Hong took out a pentagonal badge and pointed it at the gate of the ancient castle. Immediately, a beam of light rushed out from the badge and entered the gate. Boom! A gap suddenly appeared on the gate and then it slowly opened. Wolf King looked at the gate, then looked at the badge in Wang Hong's hand with shifty eyes. Wang Hong sneered. Don't look, there are only 2 badges in total. One is on Lord Mansion Master, and the other is on me. If you have the confidence to defeat me, stop talking. Wolf King waved his claws, turned around, and rushed into the castle. Even though it had already broken through to the 2-star War Master, it was still unable to see through Wang Hong's cultivation. And Wang Hong said it with such confidence, it was obvious that he did not put it in his eyes at all. Therefore, it decisively gave up on the little scheme in its heart. Little brat. Looking at Wolf King's small back, Wang Hong could not help but shake his head and laugh. As for Wolf King, he was dumbfounded the moment he entered the castle. When Qin Feiyong entered, it was the same, his eyes filled with disbelief. Inside the huge castle, there were many tall iron shelves neatly arranged. And every iron shelf was filled with things. There were all kinds of divine weapons, iron and jade boxes of all sizes, and a large number of universe bag. These weapons were collected by the previous mansion masters. Each of them can cut through iron like mud. And these iron and jade boxes, some of them contain martial skills, some of them contain battle arts, and some of them contain pills, pill formulas, pill fires, and precious medicinal ingredients. As for those universe bag, they are all gold coins. After Wang Hong closed the door, he brought Qin Feiyong and Wolf King around the treasure trove and introduced them. Qin Feiyong stopped beside a battle sword, grabbed the hilt, and flicked the blade. Clang! Immediately, an ear-piercing sound echoed in the treasure trove. There was no noise at all. It was obviously a top-grade battle sword. Wang Hong turned to look at Qin Feiyong and laughed. Have you taken a fancy to it? Qin Feiyong laughed and placed the battle sword back in its original position. No matter how powerful the weapon was, how could it compare to Chong Shui? He looked at the other weapons. Although they were all good, none of them caught his eye. Next, he opened the jade and iron boxes again, but he did not choose anything. Because he could no longer use the martial skills. As for the battle arts, the highest grade was only high grade, which was meaningless. As for the pill formulas, they were even more unable to attract his attention, because all the pill formulas in the Dan scripture were there. The only thing that moved him was the medicinal ingredients and the pill fire. But in the end, the pill fire was only 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade. There wasn't even a 4th grade pill fire, let alone the 5th grade pill fire that he desired. In the end, he gave up on the pill fire and only focused on the medicinal ingredients. What exactly do you want? Seeing that Qin Feiyong did not make a decision, Wang Hong gradually lost his patience. One had to know. Ordinary things couldn't enter this treasure trove at all. In other words. Chapter 664. There must be something fishy going on. Qin Feiyong decisively grabbed a jade box and opened it. Just as the box was opened, a cold aura surged out. Qin Feiyong's eyes immediately lit up with joy. Inside the jade box lay a strange flower the size of a baby's fist. It was completely white as if it was carved out of white bones. Wasn't this the flower of death? At the same time, the Wolf King's eyes also shone brightly as he drooled. He didn't expect that there would be such a treasure hidden in this treasure vault. Looking at Qin Feiyong and Wolf King's eyes, Wang Hong frowned slightly and asked, "Do you know what this is?" "What do you mean?" "As one of the guardians of the treasure vault, you don't know about the flower of death?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and shook his head. "I don't know. Senior, can you explain it?" "You really don't know?" Wang Hong looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong nodded. Wang Hong secretly heaved a sigh of relief and smiled. "This is just a very ordinary medicinal herb. It's not very useful." A man and a wolf looked at each other. "Flower of death is ordinary? Who are you trying to fool?" Qin Feiyong chuckled. Senior, if you don't want me to take this flower of death away, you can just say so. Why lie to me? You know? Wang Hong was surprised. Wolf King pursed his lips. Of course I know. We got one in the netherworld. Wang Hong suddenly felt awkward. He really didn't want Qin Feiyong to take away the flower of death. Because the flower of death was too precious, he lied to Qin Feiyong and said that it was just an ordinary medicinal herb. But he never expected that he would end up losing the rice used to lure it. Instead, he made himself so embarrassed. Qin Feiyong glanced at Wang Hong in amusement. Then, he casually grabbed another jade box. When he opened it, strands of multicolored light shot out. Damn! This is the jade crystal flower. Wolf King exclaimed. What? You even know about the jade crystal flower? Wang Hong stared blankly at the man and the wolf. Is it strange that we know? Wolf King glanced at him indifferently and also grabbed a jade box. He opened it and immediately curled his lips in disdain. Inside the jade box was a blood ginseng. To others, the blood ginseng was a rare treasure that could only be encountered by chance, but to Wolf King, it was nothing at all. He immediately closed the lid of the box and put it back to its original position. But at this moment, Qin Feiyong suddenly frowned, stretched out his hand and said, "Let me see." Previously, when Wolf King opened the jade box, he also glanced at the blood ginseng, but didn't pay it much attention. However, just as Wolf King closed the box, he suddenly had a strange feeling. This blood ginseng seemed to be somewhat different from ordinary blood ginseng. Wolf King said disdainfully, "It's just a blood ginseng. What's there to see?" At the same time, at the side, Wang Hong stared at Qin Feiyong with a trace of nervousness in his eyes. Cut the crap. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at Wolf King and took the initiative to grab the jade box. Then, he opened the lid and carefully looked at the blood ginseng. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong's eyes narrowed. Immediately after, his face was filled with ecstasy. The blood ginseng lay quietly in the jade box, emitting a hazy bloodlight. At first glance, it was no different from ordinary blood ginseng. But if one looked carefully, there was a shocking discovery. On the surface of the blood ginseng, there was a blood-colored pattern. The shape of this pattern was like a tiger. Moreover, according to Qin Feiyong's observation, there was no trace of engraving on the blood ginseng. This was enough to show that this tiger-shaped pattern was not man-made. It grew on its own. He was no stranger to this pattern. It was called the tiger-shaped spirit pattern. Only medicinal herbs that had reached 10,000 years old would give birth to this tiger-shaped spirit pattern. In other words, the blood ginseng in front of him was 10,000 years old. 10,000-year-old blood ginseng. How could this not make him excited? That was because refining the small creation pill required these 10,000 years old medicinal herbs. He originally thought that these medicinal herbs were basically impossible to find. But he did not expect to find one here. At the same time, Wang Hong, who was at the side, looked at Qin Feiyong's expression and could not help but feel weak. It was over. He must have been discovered by this brat. He really could not understand how this Qin Feiyong knew everything. One had to know. Medicinal herbs that were 10,000 years old were already peerless. Therefore, very few people in the world knew the characteristics of 10,000 years old medicinal herbs. Even when he saw this blood ginseng back then, he only knew that this was a 10,000 years old blood ginseng after hearing the old man's explanation. But Qin Feiyong could tell at a glance. Wasn't this too unbelievable? Could it be that this brat had seen it before? But that was impossible. Qin Feiyong was just a country boy. How could he have the chance to see this 10,000 years old medicinal herb? Just as Wang Hong was puzzled, Qin Feiyong closed the jade box, turned to look at Wang Hong, and said with a smile, "Senior, I want this blood ginseng." Wang Hong's face suddenly twitched. Wolf King was a little anxious and said with a voice transmission, "Little Qin Zi, you don't want the death flower and the jade crystal flower, but you want this blood ginseng. Is there something wrong with your head? You don't understand." Qin Feiyong said secretly. "What do you mean?" Wolf King frowned. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "This is a 10,000 years old blood ginseng. It's many times more precious than the death flower and the jade crystal flower." What? A 10,000 years old blood ginseng. Wolf King was dumbfounded on the spot and looked at the jade box with a dumbfounded expression. Seeing Qin Feiyang and Wolf King flirting with each other, Wang Hong could not help but frown and said, "Kid, do you want to think about it again?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Senior, are you trying to trick me again? Don't waste your time, I want it." "Bastard." Wang Hong cursed under his breath and nodded helplessly. "Okay, it's the mansion master who said so. Take it." Qin Feiyang smiled and put away the iron box without hesitation. He glanced at the other jade boxes and asked suspiciously, "Senior, why are there 10,000 years old medicinal herbs here?" Wang Hong said, "It said that the first mansion master left them behind." "I see." Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. If it was the first mansion master who collected it, then it wouldn't be anything strange. After all, the first mansion master and the first emperor existed at the same time. Then, are there any other 10,000 years old medicinal herbs here? Wolf King asked, looking at the jade boxes on the iron shelf with a green light in his eyes. Wang Hong's face darkened and he said angrily, "You've already taken the 10,000 years old blood ginseng. Why are you still asking so much?" "I'm just asking. I didn't say I wanted it. Why are you so stingy?" Wolf King pouted. "I'm stingy?" Wang Hong pointed at his nose and glared at Wolf King. However, he suddenly frowned and lowered his head in silence. Qin Feiyang and Wolf King looked at him curiously. A moment later, Wang Hong looked up at Wolf King and Qin Feiyang and said telepathically, "If you guys can agree to a request of mine, I'll make the decision in private and let you guys choose another one." The man and Wolf looked at each other with joy in their eyes. Wolf King said hurriedly, "What request? Tell us." Wang Hong said, "Give me the recipes for the potential pill and 9 melody yellow dragon pill." "What? Aren't you being too greedy?" Wolf King said angrily. Qin Feiyang's face was also filled with anger. The pill formulas of the potential pill and the 9 chew yellow dragon pill. Any one of them could bring endless wealth. Wasn't he afraid of dying from overeating by asking for 2 recipes? Most importantly, this was the state capital's treasure vault. Everything here didn't belong to anyone. Even the old master, who was the mansion master, could not take it for himself. That was because this was a public asset of the entire spiritual state. But now, Wang Hong was using the things here to make a deal with him? Qin Feiyang really did not expect that Wang Hong, who had always been open and aboveboard, would be so scheming. Looking at Qin Feiyang and Wolf King's expressions, Wang Hong sighed deeply and said, "I know that you guys must be thinking that I'm a greedy villain. Aren't you?" Wolf King sneered. "No." Chapter 665. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang finally understood. He cupped his hands and said, "Senior, you really put in a lot of effort. I misunderstood you just now. Please forgive me." "It's okay." Wang Hong waved his hand and sighed. "All these years, the old man has treated me like family. Naturally, I have to do something for him. So please help me. Senior, you know how to repay kindness. The old man has been good to me. Logically I should help you, but, at this point, Qin Feiyang frowned. Wang Hong immediately promised, "Don't worry. I won't tell anyone about the recipe." Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and looked at Wang Hong. "This is too important. Please give me a few days to think about it." "Okay." Wang Hong nodded and smiled. He also knew that this request was a bit difficult, so he didn't urge him. Qin Feiyang didn't mention the treasure selection again. After all, he didn't promise anyone. How could he bring it up? 2 people and 1 wolf walked out of the treasury one after another. Immediately, a beautiful figure entered their sight. It was Ren Wushuang. After Wang Hong closed the stone door, he asked in confusion, "Wushuang, why are you here?" Ren Wushuang bowed to Wang Hong and said, "I have something to talk to Qin Feiyang about." "Me?" Qin Feiyang frowned slightly. He couldn't help but have an uneasy premonition. Wang Hong looked at the 2 meaningfully and smiled. "Okay, you guys talk." With that, he opened a teleportation door and went to report to the old man. After the portal disappeared, Ren Wushuang immediately ran to Qin Feiyang and said, "Feiyang, can you tell me where my father is now?" As expected, Qin Feiyang guessed that Ren Wushuang came to him because of Ren Duxing. After a moment of silence, Qin Feiyang said, "Sis, it's not that I don't want to tell you about Uncle Ren's whereabouts. It's Grandpa who doesn't want me to tell you. He doesn't want you to worry. Grandpa knows too? Ren Wushuang's face froze. Qin Feiyong nodded and added, but the old man only knows that Uncle Ran is still alive. He doesn't know where Uncle Ran is now. Why? Ren Wushuang looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyong said, because Uncle Ren doesn't want you to know where he is. Even so, you can't hide it from me. This is too much. After saying that, she squatted on the ground, hugged her shoulders and cried. Sis, don't be like this, okay? If others see this, they will think that I am bullying you. Qin Feiyong said helplessly. You guys are bullying me. I am not a child. Why don't you tell me? Ren Wushuang whispered, tears falling like rain. Qin Feiyong said helplessly. Can you stop crying? Ren Wushuang turned a deaf ear to it and silently shed tears. Her thin body was curled up there while shivering, and she seemed to be extremely helpless. Aya! Qin Feiyong, Wushuang. What are you two doing here? At this moment, one figure after another streaked across the sky. It was third young Master Chao and the other commanders. Fan Jian was also among them. The 9 people landed on the square outside the castle and looked at the two of them curiously. Qin Feiyong smiled and said nothing. Is that so? Then why is Miss Wushuang crying? Fan Jian looked at Qin Feiyong strangely. Xueqi frowned and said, Qin Feiyong, did you bully Wushuang? Third young Master Chao said with a cold face. Let me tell you, Wushuang is the apple of our eye. If you dare to bully her, we will not forgive you. I didn't. Qin Feiyong quickly waved his hand. Wolf King stood at the side. Not only did he not help to explain, he even looked at Qin Feiyong with schadenfreude. Really? Third young Master Chao looked at him unkindly. Qin Feiyong was about to break down and said, Sis, don't cry. If you keep crying, I won't be able to clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River. Then do you want to tell me? Ran Wushuang sent a sound transmission, her tone carrying a hint of threat. Qin Feiyong rubbed his aching forehead, looked at Wolf King beside him, and said angrily, Can you help me out? This is between you two, what can I say? The Wolf King said indifferently, acting as if this matter had nothing to do with him. You win. Qin Feiyong glared at it fiercely, gritted his teeth, and sent a sound transmission to Ren Wushuang. Okay, I'll take you to see him. Really? Ren Wushuang's delicate body trembled. Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded. If he did not agree, he might really be beaten up by third young Master Chao and the others. Ren Wushuang suddenly laughed through her tears, got up, wiped her tears, and looked at Xueqi and the others. He didn't bully me, just sand got into my eyes. Sand got into your eyes? The 9 people looked at each other, obviously not believing. That, cough cough, Qin Feiyong coughed and said with a smile. Everyone, I have something to do, so I'll leave first. Then, he opened a portal and left quickly with Ren Wushuang and Wolf King. What's going on? Third young Master Chao and the others looked at each other. Iron chain bridge in the land of ruins. Whoosh! 2 people and a wolf suddenly appeared out of thin air. Ren Wushuang looked in front of her and said in surprise, Isn't this the entrance to the land of ruins? That's right. Uncle Ren is down here. Qin Feiyong pointed at the canyon. Ren Wushuang's eyes trembled, and she immediately landed on the bridge, looked down at the canyon, and shouted, Father, I'm here to find you. Can you come out and see your daughter? Her voice echoed in the canyon, carrying a deep longing and desire, and did not disappear for a long time. But in the canyon, other than the whistling of the storm, no other sound could be heard. Father, I know you don't want to see me, don't want me to know you're here, you must have your reasons, but have you ever thought about my feelings? Ever since you left, I've been looking for you every day. Lin Yi's delicate body trembled, but she quickly calmed down and waited for the following words. Qin Feiyong's gaze swept across everyone and the black dragon snake. He smiled and said, My father is someone you all know, the current emperor of the great Qin Empire. What? Lin Yi and Luo Chenxue suddenly got up and looked at Qin Feiyong in disbelief. There were stormy waves in their hearts. The black dragon snake was also shocked to the extreme. As for Wolf King, Pangolin, Fatso, and Lu Hong, they were not surprised because they already knew this. The only thing they wanted to know was why Qin Feiyong came to the Iron Ox town. After a long while, Luo Chenxue recovered and asked, "Are you really the son of the emperor?" "Of course." Qin Feiyang smiled and said. Hearing this, Luo Chenxue looked up and down at Qin Feiyang. Then she actually knelt on the ground. Qin Feiyang's face changed. He hurriedly went up to hold Luo Chenxue and frowned. "Auntie Xue, what are you doing?" Luo Chenxue said in a panic. "You are the prince, of course I have to salute." Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and said, "Auntie Xue, aren't you treating me like this? Don't be like this, and now, I'm no longer a prince." "Not a prince?" Luo Chenxue was taken aback and wondered, why? Qin Feiyang smiled self-deprecatingly and said, "As early as more than 10 years ago, the emperor had already ordered to abolish my identity as a prince. If it weren't for my mother to plead for me, I'm afraid I would have already turned into a pile of soil." "What?" Luo Chenxue and Lin Yi were stunned. Fatso and the others were also trembling physically and mentally. It turned out that all this was related to the emperor. No wonder every time Qin Feiyang's father was mentioned, Qin Feiyang would be furious. However, why did the emperor order to abolish his son? Chapter 666. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and smiled faintly. "My talent was not bad back then. I suddenly became a 9-star martial master when I was 10 years old." A 9-star martial master at the age of 10? Lin Yi's face froze. This talent is not only not bad, it is simply monstrous. But this is even more strange. Qin Feiyang has such amazing talent. It can be said that his future is limitless, but the current emperor actually poisoned him. Is he stupid? Wolf King frowned and asked, "Little Qin Zi, what is the reason?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "I don't know the reason." "You don't know?" Wolf King, Fatso, and others looked at each other. Qin Feiyang said, "I remember that when I had a conflict with the eldest prince, my eldest brother, he killed me and seriously injured me." Upon hearing this, Fatso said angrily, "As the eldest brother, he actually killed you. Isn't this too much? What's more, aren't you a 9-star martial master? Why can't you beat him? Haven't you heard of this saying? The most ruthless imperial family. In the imperial palace, there is no kinship at all, only power struggles. And the eldest prince is 8 or 9 years older than me. At that time, he was already a 5-star martial ancestor. I am a 9-star martial master. No matter how heaven-defying I am, I can't be his opponent." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. Fatso suddenly said, "I see. You continue. Speak slowly. Don't get too excited." "Do I look excited to you?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. In the past, he was indeed very aggrieved and angry. Every night, he was awakened by nightmares. But now, he figured it out. Whatever happened, no matter how much you resent or hate it, it is impossible to change anything. Only by facing it with strength, optimism, and courage can you live more at ease. In short, you can't let the past affect your heart. Gathering his thoughts, Qin Feiyang continued, "Although the injuries I suffered that time were very serious, the imperial palace did not lack top-grade healing pills. I woke up the next morning. But not long after I woke up, misfortune befell me." When he said the last sentence, Qin Feiyang's tone obviously changed. Fatso and the others also held their breaths, waiting for Qin Feiyang to continue. "After I woke up, I was still reading the historical records in the pavilion outside the bedroom as usual. I remember that it was a rainy day. Just as I was engrossed in the movie, 4 of my father's personal bodyguards suddenly appeared and threatened to kill me. At that time, I wasn't mentally prepared at all. I was stunned. Father has always doted on me. How could he kill me? Besides, I didn't do anything wrong." But the 4 guards didn't explain anything. They pulled out their butcher's knives and slashed at my head. Qin Feiyang said, his hands couldn't help but clench. Helpless, my mother knelt on the ground and begged him. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands together tightly, and his eyes were red. When he thought of the scene of his mother kneeling to the emperor in order to save him, his heart was bleeding. He could be killed. He could be humiliated. But humiliating his mother was out of the question. Phew! After a while, Qin Feiyang exhaled a long breath and calmed the anger in his heart. In the end, under my mother's bitter pleading, The emperor changed his mind and didn't kill me. However, he wanted to abolish my cultivation and expel me from the imperial capital, never to return. Moreover, my mother was not allowed to come to me. This is the details of my encounter. After telling this story, Qin Feiyong felt a lot more relaxed. Brother Feiyong. Lin Yi looked at Qin Feiyong with tears streaming down her face. She never thought that Qin Feiyong had such an unbearable past. He must have had a hard time these years. Child, don't be sad. Although you have lost a lot, you have also gained a lot. Look at Wolf King, Fatso, and Lu Hong. They are all your companions. Luo Qianxue stepped forward and comforted him softly. Qin Feiyong glanced at them one by one and bowed. Thank you for your company over the years. Why are you so polite to us? Are you asking for a beating? Wolf King glared at him fiercely. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. Fatso suddenly said, Boss, have you ever thought about whether this matter has anything to do with the eldest prince? And Qin Feiyong was taken aback. On the first day, you had a conflict with the eldest prince. But on the second day, the emperor, who has always loved you, turned against you. Why does Fat Lord feel that something is wrong? Fatso frowned. It should have nothing to do with him. That's because he was the one who injured me, not the other way around. Moreover, he was the one who provoked me first. If it really happened because of this, the emperor should punish him, Qin Feiyong said. That's true. Fatso nodded, frowning. He was puzzled. As for the reason, I will slowly investigate it when I enter the imperial capital. Now, I am telling these things not to win your sympathy, but to let you understand my next situation, Qin Feiyong said. Wolf King raised his eyebrows and said, What do you mean? I don't even know if I can survive this trip to the imperial capital. You are all my friends, even my family. I don't want to implicate you. So, I hope that you won't go to the imperial capital. Qin Feiyong's face had a trace of pleading. Fuck. Are we the kind of people who are afraid of death? You treat us as friends, and we treat you as friends. Between friends, shouldn't we enjoy joys and sorrows together? Let me tell you, if you say such things again, don't blame us for falling out with you. Fatso and Wolf King said angrily. Lu Hong's brows were tightly knitted, and she was a little unhappy. Qin Feiyong sighed. I don't want to lose you. We don't want to see you fight alone. Anyway, I must go to the imperial capital. You can't stop me even if you want to. Wolf King smiled coldly. Yes. Fatso nodded and snorted. You want to enjoy glory and wealth alone? Dream on. You. Qin Feiyong looked at the man and the wolf. He was quite angry, but more than that, he was touched. In life, one didn't need too many friends, as long as they were sincere. Luo Qianxue glanced at them and said with a smile, Feiyong, if you really treat them as friends, don't say such things in the future, because it will only hurt their hearts. Qin Feiyong looked at Luo Qianxue and couldn't help but frown. Okay, don't say anything. Let them go. If you really leave them in the spiritual state, they won't be able to cultivate in peace. Besides, I don't feel at ease leaving them here. Because except for you, no one can restrain them. At that time, I don't know what trouble they will cause. As for me, it's better not to go. With my little strength, I will only be a burden to you if I go. Luo Qianxue shook her head and smiled. Aunt Xue. Qin Feiyong's eyes were a little wet. In fact, he was most worried about Luo Qianxue. Because Luo Qianxue was really good to him. He didn't want this woman who was like a mother to be hurt. Originally, he didn't know how to say it. But he didn't expect Luo Qianxue to be so considerate and bring it up herself. Then, he looked at Fatso and the others. Looking at the stubbornness and persistence on their faces, he sighed deeply and said with a smile, As long as you are not afraid of death, then go. TSK, Fat Lord even dares to enter the tiger's den, let alone the imperial capital? Fatso had a look of disdain. Keep bragging. Wolf King rolled his eyes at him, turned to Qin Feiyong, and said with a sneaky smile, Hee hee, I am still waiting to be the guardian beast of the great Qin Empire. You guys. Chapter 667. Then, Qin Feiyong looked at Yi again. At this moment, she was lowering her head and grabbing her belt tightly with both hands. Her eyes were filled with struggle. Qin Feiyong didn't say anything. She needed to make this decision herself. He looked at the black dragon snake and the pangolin and asked, "Are you guys going?" "Of course," the pangolin said without hesitation. After tasting the benefits of opening the door of potential, it had already made up its mind to follow these fiends for the rest of its life. But the black dragon snake hesitated. Suddenly, it looked at Qin Feiyong and cautiously asked, "If this emperor says I'm not going, will you kill me to silence me?" Qin Feiyong laughed. "Although you and I haven't been together for long, I respect your choice, not to mention that my original intention was for you to stay in the spirit state. If that's the case then," the black dragon snake struggled for a moment and gritted its teeth. "At most, I'll die, I'll go." It was taking a gamble. Although this trip to the imperial capital pointed to disaster, it was still an opportunity. If Qin Feiyong really became the emperor of the great Qin Empire, then it would be a meritorious minister. Wouldn't it have a meteoric rise in the future? Qin Feiyong smiled and looked at Lu Hong and Fatso. "Continue to organize the herbs." The two nodded. Then, Qin Feiyong appeared at the bridge with Wolf King and looked up at Ran Duxing and Ran Wushuang. The father and daughter stood on the iron chain bridge, talking and laughing, looking exceptionally warm. Sensing Qin Feiyong's aura, Ran Duxing also looked at Qin Feiyong and nodded with a smile. Qin Feiyong also revealed a smile. Then, Ran Duxing looked down at Ran Wushuang and smiled. "Shuang you should go back." Ran Wushuang's expression changed, and she hurriedly said, "But I still want to accompany father for a while." Ran Duxing rubbed Ran Wushuang's head lovingly and said with a smile, "Silly boy, won't you have another chance in the future?" But Ran Wushuang still wanted to say something. Ran Duxing shook his head and said with a smile, "Don't hesitate. You've grown up now. You should understand that all good things must come to an end." Ran Wushuang pouted, feeling wronged, and said, "Then can you tell me why you're staying here?" "No. Didn't you just say that you won't ask anything?" Ran Duxing smiled. "All right." Ran Wushuang lowered his head. His eyes filled with reluctance. Alas! Seeing this, Ran Duxing couldn't help but sigh inwardly. With a wave of his hand, he swept up Ran Wushuang and flew towards Qin Feiyong and Wolf King. Several breaths later, the father and daughter landed at the end of the bridge, but Ran Duxing did not leave the iron chain bridge. "Uncle Ren." Qin Feiyong bowed. Ran Duxing sized up Qin Feiyong and nodded. "You broke through to 1-star War Master so quickly, not bad." Qin Feiyong laughed. "Uncle Ren's strength is also unfathomable. Before long, I can only look up to you." Ran Duxing shook his head and laughed. He lowered his head and looked at Ran Wushuang, who was beside him, and said, "Shuang I have some personal matters to discuss with Qin Feiyong. You should leave first." Ran Wushuang frowned and said angrily, "You have something to hide from me again. What do you take me for?" Ran Duxing said, "Shuang don't be willful. Father didn't let you know for your own good." "Humph." Ran Wushuang coldly snorted, walked down the iron chain bridge, and walked into the distance. Before leaving, she glared fiercely at Qin Feiyong. "Who did I offend?" Qin Feiyong was a little depressed. After Ran Wushuang walked away, Ran Duxing said apologetically, "Feiyong, this girl of mine is like this, don't mind her." "Do I dare to mind?" Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly, sorted out his emotions, and asked suspiciously, "Uncle Ren, what are you trying to say?" Ran Duxing asked, "How many people won the 9 regions war this time?" "Let me think. Wan Qiu, Feng Wuxia, the twin sisters, Ling Yu and the other 3, Tan Wu." Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment, and said, "If we don't count the people from our spirit state, there are a total of 9 people." Ran Duxing said, "Then who are the people from our spirit state?" Qin Feiyong said, "Lu Xingchen, Dong Zhengyang, sister, Shen Mei." Ran Duxing pondered for a moment, and asked, "Then do you feel that there is something wrong with anyone?" "Something wrong?" Qin Feiyong thought carefully for a moment and said, "If there is something wrong, it is only Lu Xingchen." "What do you mean?" Ran Duxing was surprised. "First, he is hiding his cultivation level. At first, we all thought he was a 7 stars combat emperor, but in the end, I found that he is stronger than us, a 3-star combat grandmaster. Second, in the 9 Nether Yellow Springs, he secretly helped the people of Kong and Yuzhou several times. Third, he seems to know everything. No matter what he encounters he knows." Qin Feiyong said. Ren Duxing frowned. Why would he help the people of Kong and Yuzhou? I don't know. I asked, but he didn't say, but, when Qin Feiyong said this, his eyebrows also furrowed. Ren Duxing asked, but what? He told me that he means me no harm, and he also said that he owes me a favor. But I really can't remember when I helped him. Qin Feiyong was confused. You single-handedly destroyed the Liu family, he should hate you. It seems that there is something wrong with this person. Ren Duxing muttered and said, Feiyong, Uncle Ren has a request. What is it? Qin Feiyong was confused. Do you remember that I told you that among the people who participated in the Nine States battle, there is a high chance that Mu Tianyong's lackeys are among them? Ren Duxing said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank, and he said in surprise. You mean this person is Lu Xingchen? I don't know. But he is the most worthy of our attention. So I want to ask you to do everything possible to grasp his whereabouts after entering the imperial capital. Ren Duxing said. Qin Feiyong frowned and said, Uncle Ren, to be honest, I really don't want to care about these things. Ren Duxing was silent for a moment, and said, Feiyong, I know this will put a lot of pressure on you, but I really can't find a suitable person. Qin Feiyong sighed helplessly and said, Well, I'll do my best. Just do your best. Ren Duxing smiled and said, Remember, inform me as soon as you have any news. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. Ren Duxing waved his hand and said, Then go work hard, and help me take care of Shuang Ura. I will, goodbye. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said goodbye, then turned and walked toward Ren Wushuang. Whoosh. Ren Duxing looked at the two people and the wolf, then jumped into the canyon and disappeared in the storm. During the whole process, Wolf King didn't say a word, as if it was thinking about something. After walking for a while, it said, Little Qin Zi, I don't know if you want to hear something. What is it? Qin Feiyong was stunned and puzzled. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. We can cooperate with Mu Tianyong and use him to destroy your enemy in the imperial capital. Wolf King said, a cold light flashing in its eyes. Not bad, you know how to use your brain to think. Qin Feiyong looked at it in surprise and shook his head. But I won't do that, because cooperating with Mu Tianyong is tantamount to asking a tiger for its skin. Moreover, his goal is to destroy the great Qin Empire, and I just want revenge. Wolf King asked, when the time comes, what if he really wants to destroy the great Qin Empire? Public is public. Private is private. I won't sit back and do nothing. Because no matter what happens, the power of the bloodline flowing in my body will never change. No one can take away the empire of the great Qin Empire. Qin Feiyong said, his voice sonorous and powerful. Wolf King's pupils contracted. Qin Feiyong's last sentence really gave it a big fright. It seemed that there was bound to be a bloody storm in the future. Feiyong, where is my father? At this time, Ren Wushuang ran over and asked anxiously. Qin Feiyong turned his head to look at the empty iron chain bridge and said with a smile, he should have left. Left. Ren Wushuang's face froze, and she said angrily, he didn't even say goodbye to me. Does he still care about me, his daughter? Qin Feiyong sighed. Okay, don't complain, Uncle Ren doesn't have it easy. Ren Wushuang frowned, looked up and down Qin Feiyong for a moment, and said, Brother, tell me the truth, do you know everything about my father? What is it? Qin Feiyong looked confused. Ren Wushuang's forehead suddenly creased a row of black lines, and she said angrily, Stop pretending, tell me why did he stay here? Oh my God, I really don't know. If you want to know, go ask your father, don't pester me all the time, okay? Qin Feiyong was helpless to the extreme. If he was willing to tell me, why would I ask you? Ren Wushuang complained, grabbed Qin Feiyong's arm, and said with a smile, Feiyong, can you just tell sister? If the hard way didn't work, then she would use the soft way. But Qin Feiyong didn't fall for it at all. He forcefully pried Ren Wushuang's fingers away, opened a teleportation door, and rushed in without looking back. Brat, I'm not done with you. Ren Wushuang stomped her feet angrily and immediately chased in. Prefecture City. East City Treasure Pavilion. In the lounge. This brat is back. Why didn't he come to find me? Do I have to take the initiative to find him every time? He really doesn't know how to respect the old and love the young. Yin Yuanming paced back and forth in the room, looking extremely anxious. This brat was naturally referring to Qin Feiyong. Not long after Qin Feiyong returned, he received the news and immediately returned to the lounge to wait. Of course, he wasn't missing Qin Feiyong, but those top-grade pills. But after waiting for so long, Qin Feiyong didn't come, and he couldn't help but feel resentment in his heart. Bastard, bastard. He cursed angrily and took out the image crystal. Swish. But at this moment, 2 people and a wolf appeared in the lounge out of thin air. Yin Yuanming was stunned. He turned his head and his face immediately surged with ecstasy. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyong? He immediately went up and said with a smile, "Brother Qin, you're back. Why didn't you inform me? I could have gone to welcome you." Old fox, if you want the pills, just say it. Don't be so hypocritical, okay? Wolf King picked his nose and said disdainfully. Yin Yuanming's expression froze, and he said angrily, "What are you talking about? Let me tell you, Wolf Cub, my feelings for Brother Qin can be witnessed by heaven and earth." Qin Feiyong's face twitched. He even used heaven and earth as a witness. This old fox was really going all out for the pills. "You're bragging." Wolf King glanced at Yin Yuanming disdainfully and jumped to the ground. He knocked here and there, as if he was looking for something. "Stop looking, there's no treasure here." Chapter 668. Qin Feiyong walked to the side of the tea table and sat on the chair. Yin Yuanming also went forward, picked up the teapot and poured tea, completely ignoring Ren Wushuang beside him. Ren Wushuang frowned and said, "Steward Yin, is my presence so insignificant?" Yin Yuanming was stunned. He turned his head and his face changed slightly. He hurriedly said, "Oh, isn't this Miss Ren? When did you come?" Qin Feiyong just picked up the teacup and took a sip. When he heard this, he directly spat it out. What kind of eyesight did this old fox have? She had been standing there for a long time and actually didn't notice? It seemed that Yin Yuanming was going to offend this Mississippi. As expected, Ren Wushuang's face suddenly darkened. She clenched her jade-like hands and stared fiercely at Yin Yuanming. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyong coughed and kindly reminded him, "She came with me." What? Yin Yuanming suddenly changed color and smiled apologetically. "Miss Ren, I'm sorry, it's all my fault, please sit down." Humph. Ren Wushuang snorted coldly and sat opposite Qin Feiyong. Her face was very ugly. What is this great-aunt doing here? Yin Yuanming was puzzled. He secretly wiped his sweat, turned around and walked to the side of the tea table, and warmly greeted her. Qin Feiyong put down the teacup and said with a faint smile, "Don't be so polite, let's talk business." Business? Yin Yuanming was stunned and said suspiciously, "Aren't you here to deliver the elixir? You only have eyes for the elixir?" Qin Feiyong frowned. "Nonsense. I'm a businessman. Naturally, I'm talking business. Do you think I'll talk about love with you?" Yin Yuanming rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyong's face twitched and said helplessly, "I just came back and didn't have time to refine the elixir. Now I'm here to ask you for a favor." "What is it?" Yin Yuanming put down the teacup and looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyong said, "I have a very important person that I want to keep in your treasure pavilion." "Who?" Yin Yuanming asked. "Her name is Luo Chenxue." Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and Luo Chenxue instantly appeared out of thin air. Luo Chenxue bowed and said, "Greetings, manager." You're welcome, you're welcome." Yin Yuanming waved his hands repeatedly. What a joke. This brat had already said that this woman was very important to him. How could he still dare to put on airs? After sizing up Luo Chenxue for a moment, Yin Yuanming turned to look at Qin Feiyong. He frowned and said, "Brother Qin, based on our relationship, I will definitely help you with this small matter. But you also know that my treasure pavilion is a place to do business. Don't worry about it." Auntie Xue was the pavilion master of the precious treasure pavilion in Iron Ox Town. Later on, he even managed the treasure pavilion in Yen City. Aunt Xue knows the tricks of Zhanbao Pavilion like the back of her hand, Qin Feiyong said with a faint smile. Yin Yuanming was stunned and said with a smile, "So she is one of us." Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "I wonder if you have heard of Zhang Zhengyi?" "Of course I have. He was the previous chief pavilion master of the Yen County. He was very responsible and very capable. Our chief pavilion master even planned to transfer him to the state capital. Unfortunately, he died young. Yin Yuanming sighed. Qin Feiyong said, Auntie Xue was his wife. What? Yin Yuanming suddenly stood up and looked at Luo Chenxue in disbelief. He asked, You are husband and wife? Yes. Luo Chenxue nodded, looking a little disappointed. I didn't expect to meet Jiang Zhengyi's widow. Okay. I will go to the chief pavilion master later and arrange a position for you. Yin Yuanming said. Thank you. Luo Chenxue bowed and thanked him. I said you don't have to be so polite. Putting aside the relationship with Qin Feiyong, just talking about Jiang Zhengyi, we have to take good care of you. Yin Yuanming smiled. Qin Feiyong said you said it. If I am in the capital and hear that Auntie Xue is wronged, I will not forgive you. Yin Yuanming straightened his back and said, Okay, if that day comes, I will let you do whatever you want. Thank you. Qin Feiyong stood up and cupped his hands to thank him. If he wanted to keep Luo Chenxue in the spiritual state, he had to arrange a place for her. And Zhanbao Pavilion in the capital was undoubtedly the best place. He could rest assured if she stayed here. Yin Yuanming smiled and said, Brother Qin, we are done talking about Luo Chenxue. Shall we talk about the elixir now? Qin Feiyong said, Okay, give me a price. I will make it right away. So straightforward? Yin Yuanming was stunned. Then he was overjoyed and said with a smile, Then I will say it. 3,000 red fire glaze elixirs, 500 potential elixirs, and 100,000 each of the other supreme grade elixirs. Qin Feiyong's face darkened, and his veins bulged. Wasn't this an exorbitant demand? I say, are you looking for trouble? Wolf King also looked at Yin Yuanming with bad intentions. Don't misunderstand. We will provide all the herbs ourselves. You are only responsible for making the elixirs. Yin Yuanming said. Ha! Qin Feiyong was slightly stunned and frowned. Do you have so many herbs for potential elixirs and red fire glaze elixirs? Of course. To tell you the truth, the chief pavilion master has long expected that you will definitely enter the capital in the end. So, in the years when you participated in the Battle of the 9 States, the chief pavilion master personally went to the other 8 states to collect a large number of herbs. Yin Yuanming smiled sinisterly. Qin Feiyong and Wolf King looked at each other. They didn't expect the chief pavilion master to be even crazier than them. Qin Feiyong joked. Aren't you afraid that the prefecture masters of the other 8 states will find trouble with you after learning about this? We bought it with money openly. What right do they have to find trouble with us? Yin Yuanming was disdainful. You guys are awesome. Qin Feiyong gave them a thumbs up and said with a smile, But you also know my rules. The elixirs refined must be divided equally between us. This. Yin Yuanming frowned and said with a flattering smile, Brother Qin, you are going to the capital soon and may not come back in this life. Can you give us a discount? What's more, our friendship is so deep. Can you just treat it as a farewell gift to us before we part ways? He added. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and stretched out 3 fingers. 30. 70. This is my bottom line. Deal. Yin Yuanming nodded decisively. After all, after being together for so long, he knew Qin Feiyong very well. It was impossible for him to help the Treasure Pavilion refine elixirs for free. Therefore, he was already very satisfied to be able to negotiate a 30-70 split. Boom. At this time, a powerful aura suddenly descended over the city. At this moment, everyone in the city was alarmed. In the resting room, Qin Feiyong and the others were also bewildered. Boom! Following closely, another terrifying aura descended over the city one after another. Ran Wushuang frowned and said, Could it be that someone from the capital came to pick us up? No. It was the previous prefecture master who took you to the capital. The capital will not send anyone personally. Besides, no one from the capital will come if nothing particularly important happens. Besides, although these auras are powerful, they are still a lot worse than the people from the capital. According to my deduction, they should be at the same level as the prefecture master. Yin Yuanming said. At the same level as Grandpa. Ran Wushuang pondered for a while and said in surprise, Could it be the prefecture masters of the other 8 states? It's possible. Yin Yuanming nodded and frowned. But why did he come to our spiritual state? Qin Feiyang said, "It should be for me." You. Yin Yuanming was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, "I killed many of their people in the 9 levels of hell and even wiped out several states." Yin Yuanming looked at him in a daze and shook his head with a wry smile. He is indeed a ferocious guy. Don't worry, with the prefecture master here, they won't dare to do anything to you. I'll go get the herbs now. After saying that, Yin Yuanming turned around and strode out of the lounge. After watching Yin Yuanming leave, Wolf King's eyes flashed coldly and said, "Little Qin Zi, do you want to take the opportunity to go to Yunzhou?" "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang frowned. Wolf King sneered and said, "Fatso's blood feud, have you forgotten?" "Of course not." Qin Feiyang said, "What are you talking about? What blood feud does Fatso have?" Ran Wushuang looked at the man and wolf in confusion. Chapter 669. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded, grabbed Luo Chenchua's hand, and said, "Auntie Xue, when I go to the capital, I won't come to see you. You must take care of yourself." "I will. Don't worry and go on an adventure." Luo Chenxue smiled, but her eyes were wet. After being together for so long, she had long regarded Qin Feiyang as her own son. Now that they had parted, she didn't know when they would be reunited. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel sad, and said, "When I settle down in the capital, I will definitely come back to pick you up." "Okay. I'll wait for you." Luo Chenxue nodded, feeling gratified. She really couldn't figure out why the emperor wanted to harm such a sensible child. "I'm leaving." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he resolutely let go of Luo Chenxue's hand, opened a portal, and left with Wolf King. "Bastard, don't think about leaving me behind." Ran Wushuang said angrily and was about to chase after him. But at this time, Luo Chenxue grabbed her wrist, shook her head, and said with a smile, "Child, don't chase after him. Feiyang is a very trustworthy person. Since he promised your father, no matter how you pester him, he won't say anything." Ran Wushuang said anxiously, but Luo Chenxue smiled and said, "Okay, stop talking. Stay here and chat with me." "Okay." Ran Wushuang nodded, but in her heart, she cursed Qin Feiyang for being a bastard. Yin Yuanming, who was next to them, looked surprised. Didn't Ran Wushuang's father die a long time ago? But from their conversation, why was it that this Ren Duxing was still alive? Also, Qin Feiyang and Ruffian Wolf actually wanted to raid the Yunzhou Mansion Master's lair. Were they really not afraid of death? No. All the medicinal materials are with them. They can't die in Yunzhou. Muttering to himself, Yin Yuanming looked up at Ran Wushuang and smiled. "I have something to discuss with the Chief Pavilion Master. You guys take your time." Without waiting for their response, he hurriedly left. Meanwhile, in the sky above a valley in the cloud state, swish! Qin Feiyang and Wolf King appeared out of thin air. The valley was surrounded by mountains on all sides, and there were no entrances or exits. One could only enter from a high altitude. Within the valley, it was about half a mile long. The ground was very flat and covered with lush green weeds. Between the bushes, there were also wild flowers in full bloom, their fragrance assailing their nostrils. Furthermore, there was a clear stream that meandered through the entire valley. From time to time, a small fish would jump out, adding some liveliness to the valley. In the east of the valley, there was a small forest. The trees were not tall, but they were lush and full of life. Through the gaps between the leaves, he could faintly see an old wooden building. Behind the small wooden building, there was a cemetery that emitted a sorrowful aura. Qin Feiyang glanced at the valley and waved his hand. Fatso immediately appeared beside him. He had heard the conversation between Qin Feiyang and Wolf King in the castle, so he was already prepared. At this moment, looking at the valley below, his entire body suddenly exuded a sense of sorrow and a dense killing intent, because this was the place where his father and family were buried. "Who is it?" Suddenly, a vigilant shout sounded. Whoosh! Following closely, accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, an old man in black rushed out of the valley and landed in front of the two men and the wolf. The old man was skinny and had white hair. His eyes were extremely gloomy, but when he saw Fatso, it was as if an iceberg had melted. His old face was full of smiles. Fatso said, "Uncle Hai, I'm back." That's right. This person was the housekeeper of the Situ family, Situ Hai. Situ Hai walked in front of Fatso and reached out his trembling hand to touch Fatso's face. He said, "Child, it's been a few years since we last met. How have you been these years?" "Very good." Fatso nodded repeatedly and said with a smile, "Uncle Hai, let me tell you a piece of good news. I've passed the Great Nine States battle." "What?" Situ Hai's old body trembled. He said in surprise, "You're not lying to me?" "Why would I lie to you? I'll be able to enter the imperial capital soon," Fatso said. "Haha. The heavens didn't destroy my Situ family." Situ Hai immediately looked up to the sky and laughed, tears flowing down his old face. Back then, when the Situ family was exterminated, he was so desperate, thinking that the Situ family would never be able to return to the past. However, he never expected that the child with the worst talent and the least hope would not only succeed in turning the tide and transform into a one-in-a-million genius, but he also completed the Great Nine States battle and obtained the qualification to enter the imperial capital. In his heart, a raging flame of hope was ignited. Sooner or later, the Situ family would rise again and even surpass the glory of the past. Suddenly, he knelt in the void and looked at Qin Feiyang. He said, "Little brother, thank you for helping Tianyu. This old man has nothing to repay you with." "Old man, please get up. Fatso and I are brothers. It's only right for me to help him." Qin Feiyang quickly went forward and helped Situ Hai up. Situ Hai said, "It's Tianyu's blessing to have a brother like you." "Uncle Hai, what are you talking about? I'm not bad either, okay?" Fatso grumbled unhappily. Yes. You're not bad at all. Every descendant of the Situ family is a genius." Situ Hai laughed. "It's not as exaggerated as you say." Fatso scratched his head awkwardly. "Let's go. We'll go down and tell your father and mother this good news. They'll definitely be proud of you when they hear about it in the underworld." Situ Hai grabbed Fatso's hand and flew down. Fatso said, "Boss, wait for me." Qin Feiyang nodded. After Fatso and Situ Hai entered the cemetery, Qin Feiyang lowered his head and muttered. Wolf King asked curiously, "What are you thinking about?" Qin Feiyang said, "I feel that with our strength, it's not enough to avenge Fatso." "What do you mean?" Wolf King frowned. "Just like what Aunt Xue said, although the Yun State's mansion master isn't here, there are still the 10 great commanders, the precious treasure pavilion and the sacred palace's hall masters. For example, the Pill Hall's hall master. We've fought with him before. As a 3-star battle sect, he's extremely powerful. However, I'm not worried about these people. The person I'm worried about the most is the previous mansion master of the Yun State," Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Wolf King's pupils shrunk. The ugly old woman said that she was even more powerful than the old man. Then, the previous mansion master of the Yun State must be ridiculously powerful. If they alerted this person, not only would they not be able to avenge Fatso, but they would also be consigned to eternal damnation. Wolf King said, "Why don't we wait a little longer?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "The arrow is already on the bow. We have to shoot it." After saying that, he took out the image crystal. "What are you doing?" Wolf King was suspicious. "Find someone to help us. With him around, it'll be hard for us to die," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. A strand of battle chi entered the image crystal. Soon, a figure appeared. It was Lu Xingchen. Lu Xingchen asked with a smile, "Brother Qin, do you have any orders?" Qin Feiyang said, "There's something I'd like to ask you for help with." "What is it?" Lu Xingchen was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's talk about it when you're here. I'm in the Yun State now." "What?" Lu Xingchen was dumbfounded. He said speechlessly, "You've just come back and you're already in the Yun State. You really can't stop. Give me the coordinates. I'll go there immediately." "Thank you." Qin Feiyang thanked him. After giving the coordinates to Lu Xingchen, he turned off the image crystal. At the same time, in the cemetery. "What? You came back this time to destroy the Xia, Yuan, and He families?" Situ Hai looked at Fatso in shock. Yes. Fatso nodded. His eyes flashed with a cold light. You can't do that. You're not strong enough yet. You'll be courting death if you go there. Situ Hai said anxiously. Fatso smiled and comforted him. Uncle Hai, don't worry. If I'm not confident, I won't do it. No. Now that you've obtained the qualification to enter the imperial capital, your future is bright. I can't let you lose your life because of this. We'll definitely take revenge for this, but not now. Tianyu, listen to Uncle Hai's advice. Don't be stupid. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Situ Hai tried his best to persuade him. Nah. Fatso was the only hope of the Situ family. So no matter what, he had to protect Fatso well. Fatso shook his head and said expressionlessly, I've made up my mind. Uncle Hai, don't try to persuade me. Then he knelt in front of his parents' tombstones and said firmly, Father, Mother, all the clansmen, please rest assured. I'll definitely make those damned bastards pay with their blood. After that, Fatso suddenly got up and flew towards Qin Feiyong and Wolf King. Tianyu, listen to me, don't be impulsive. Situ Hai hurriedly chased after him. When Fatso flew in front of Qin Feiyong, he immediately said, Boss, we can go now. Qin Feiyong laughed. There's no rush, let's wait for someone first. Who are we waiting for? Fatso was puzzled. Qin Feiyong said, Lu Xingchen. Him. Fatso frowned and said, Would he be so kind to help us? Who said I'm not that kind? In fact, I'm also a very loyal person. At this moment, a faint laugh sounded, and Lu Xingchen appeared out of thin air. He really came? Fatso was surprised. Lu Xingchen nodded to Qin Feiyong, then looked at Fatso and said, Don't you know that it's very immoral to speak ill of others behind their backs? About this, I apologize. Fatso laughed dryly. Lu Xingchen shook his head and laughed. At this time, Situ Hai caught up and said anxiously, Tianyu, you really can't go. Can you listen to me for once? Glancing at Situ Hai, Lu Xingchen looked at Qin Feiyong and frowned. What's the matter? Qin Feiyong briefly explained the situation. After listening, Lu Xingchen's face darkened, he glanced at the two men and the wolf, and said, This is not a child's play. Have you thought about it? Of course. Fatso nodded without hesitation. Lu Xingchen pondered for a moment and nodded. Okay, I'll help you. It's also a favor to Qin Feiyong. Although I've always disliked you, I really have to thank you this time. Fatso cupped his hands and said. Lu Xingchen waved his hand and smiled. It's no big deal. Let's go. Are you all crazy? Situ Hai said angrily. Uncle Hai, you can rest assured. We will definitely be able to get away safely. Fatso laughed. Situ Hai was extremely angry, but in the end he sighed and said, Fine, do as you wish, but you have to bring me along. Fatso frowned. Although I'm not strong enough, I've been paying attention to the movements of the three great families all these years. I know their background and can definitely help you. Moreover, I also want to see the destruction of the three great families with my own eyes. Situ Hai said. This. Fatso looked at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong thought for a moment and said with a smile. It's okay. If you want to go, go. Thank you, little brother. Situ Hai cupped his hands and thanked him, then took out a teleportation door and quickly opened it. Subsequently, the four guards thought that Qin Feiyong and the others were scared. One of them sneered. At least you know what's good for you. Quickly kneel down and apologize. However, Qin Feiyong and the others simply ignored them. Fatso squatted on the ground and asked, Old man, why are you kneeling here? The young master of the Xia family took away my granddaughter. My granddaughter is only 15. What a sin. The old man cried out sadly. Sure enough. Situ Hai sighed deeply. The fatty's eyes were also filled with rage. He abruptly raised his head to look at the four guards and shouted, How dare you bully men and seize women in broad daylight? Do you still have any respect for the law? The law. Haha, damn fat pig, you can't even protect yourself now, and you still want to fight for him? Let me tell you, in this East City, my Xia family is the law. The four people laughed with ridicule. You're courting death. Fatso slowly got up. His eyes filled with killing intent. Little brother, don't do anything. Seeing this, the old man hurriedly grabbed Fatso and said, Little brother, thank you, but you'd better stay out of it, because you can't afford to offend the Xia family. Did you hear that? The Xia family is not something you can offend. In this place, even if you are a tiger, you have to lie there obediently. Kneel down for me. The four guards shouted. Their overbearing attitude showed that they did not put these people in their eyes at all. Lu Xingchen laughed and said, Brother Qin, they are more arrogant than you. Qin Feiyong's face twitched and said helplessly, Can you not drag me into everything? The two of them whispered and were seen by a guard. The guard frowned and shouted, What are the two of you whispering about? I told you to kneel down. Didn't you hear me? Do you have to force us to fight? Lu Xingchen shrunk his neck and said timidly, Big brother, I'm a coward. Don't scare me. Scare you? Haha. The four guards laughed and the disdain in their eyes deepened. How dare they meddle in other people's business with such guts? They really overestimated themselves. Wolf King shook his head and laughed. Look at how proud they are. They won't be proud for long. Fatso snorted and looked down at the old man. He smiled and said, Old man, don't be afraid. Tell me, when did they kidnap your granddaughter? The old man glanced at them. Seeing that they had an extraordinary temperament and unfathomable aura, his panicked heart gradually calmed down. The old man said, She was captured not long ago. Fatso asked, How was she captured? Not long ago, my granddaughter and I passed by here. The young master of the Xia family happened to be returning from outside. Although my granddaughter is only 15, she is beautiful. When he saw my granddaughter, he had evil thoughts. The old man said angrily, He is worse than a beast. Old man, don't worry. I will go and rescue your granddaughter now. Fatso comforted him and turned to the four guards. He shouted, Take me to that beast immediately. Who are you calling a beast? The four guards immediately frowned. You are courting death. Fatso's eyes flashed with killing intent. He waved his hand and 3 streams of battle chi appeared and disappeared between the 3 guards' eyebrows. Ah! 3 cries of agony immediately echoed in the air. There was a bloody hole in between the eyebrows of the 3 guards. Blood was gushing out. Murder! He killed someone in the Xia family. The crowd behind all opened their eyes wide and looked at Fatso in shock. One must know. This was the Xia family. Although he only killed the servants of the Xia family, he would still be punished by the Xia family for this. However, as for the remaining guard, he was filled with terror at this moment. Because when Fatso attacked, he realized that he had kicked an iron plate this time. Fatso took a step forward and landed in front of the guard. He smiled and said, Fat Lord doesn't want to say it again. Okay. As long as you don't kill me, I will take you there immediately. That guard immediately turned around and ran into the mansion, scared witless. Fatso smiled coldly and stepped into the gate of the Xia family. He followed the guard unhurriedly. Qin Feiyong and the others smiled at each other and followed in. They actually barged in so openly? The crowd in front of the gate looked at the backs of Qin Feiyong and the others. They were all stunned. Who are they? How can they be so audacious? I've never seen or heard of them. But one thing is for sure. They will not have a good ending. That's right. In this city, even the Mo family, Yuan family, and He family, who are as famous as the Xia family, do not dare to barge into the Xia family. The crowd discussed animatedly. For a moment, the place was in an uproar. In the mansion. Who are you? Stop right there. In a long corridor, more than 10 guards of the Xia family stood in front of Qin Feiyong and the others. Each of them looked fierce. Dang! Fatso did not say anything and directly attacked. His battle chi surged out like a tidal wave. Wherever it went, flesh and blood splattered and screams could be heard. No one was left alive. When he saw that, the guard who led the way was scared out of his wits and collapsed to the ground. What strength! What vicious methods! Who was this malefic? Fatso frowned and said, If you don't get up, you'll reunite with them. The guard shuddered and hurriedly got up. He ran into a garden and followed a small path. The Xia family was heavily guarded. Basically, there was a sentry every 3 steps and a sentry every 7 steps. However, those guards were all killed mercilessly by Fatso. Along the way, the ground was filled with corpses. Blood dyed the garden and the ground red. The air was filled with a pungent smell of blood as well. It was as though the place had turned into a hell. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Inform the family head and the elders. When the guards in the distance saw Fatso killing in all directions as though there was no one around, their expressions changed and they fled in panic. How dare you! All of a sudden, a loud roar sounded. An old man in black rushed out from a hole and stood in the air. He shouted, "I'm the butler of the Xia family. If you don't want to die, surrender immediately." A small fry dares to jump out. "You really don't know what you're talking about." Fatso sneered. Without even looking, he waved his hand and the black dragon battle chi soared into the sky. Ah! The old man in black was instantly splattered with blood. What? Even the butler was killed? Seeing that, whether it was the guards of the Xia family or the servants, they could not help but feel chills down their spines. They were terrified to the extreme. How far is it? Fatso frowned and was a little impatient. The guard hurriedly said, "After walking out of this garden and passing through a small bamboo forest, we will reach the Intoxicated Heart Lake where the young master is." Intoxicated Heart Lake. A cold light flashed in Fatso's eyes. In the blink of an eye, a wave of battle chi swept out like a sharp blade and instantly cut the guard's throat. Blood splattered 3 feet on the spot. Whoosh! Following that, Fatso stepped on the return to 1 step and crazily slaughtered along the way. Qin Feiyang and the others followed behind him and just silently watched this scene. Not long after, they passed through the small bamboo forest and stopped in front of a lake of about 100 feet. The lake was very calm. The lake water was very clear. On the opposite shore, there was a small exquisite attic. Faintly, a helpless cry for help could be heard coming from the attic. Whoosh! Fatso jumped up and instantly landed on the opposite shore of the lake. He kicked open the door of the attic and walked in. "Who are you? How dare you ruin my good thing? Do you want to die?" Immediately, an angry shout rang out in the attic. But before the voice died away, accompanied by a scream, a 15 or 16-year-old boy with a bare bottom flew out of the window on the 2nd floor and fell into the lake with a thud. After a while, Fatso also flew out of the attic with a girl and landed beside Qin Feiyang and the others. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at the girl. This girl was about 1.65 meters tall. Her skin was delicate and white and her figure was petite and exquisite. She was indeed a little beauty. At this moment, there were a few blood-red palm prints on both sides of her cheeks. Her eyes were teary and she looked pitiful. When she saw Qin Feiyang and the others, she also looked frightened. What a poor little girl. Situhai sighed. Qin Feiyang frowned and looked at Fatso and asked, "Was she?" "No. When I went in, that little bastard had just taken off his pants and was directly kicked away by me." Fatso sneered. Chapter 671. Fatso laughed. "I thought you didn't care." Patriarch Xia's face was gloomy, and said, "Who are you? Why do you want to deal with my son? If he has offended you, I apologize to you on his behalf." "Apologize?" "Haha." Fatso looked up to the sky and laughed. He suddenly looked at Patriarch Xia, his eyes bursting with a strong cold light, and said, "This matter is not something that can be made up for with an apology." Patriarch Xia's heart trembled. He looked down at the youth and said angrily, "What exactly did you do?" "Woo-woo." The young man wanted to speak, but the fat man had a death grip on his throat, so he couldn't speak. Patriarch Xia looked at Fatso and pleaded, "Sir, can we make things clear? If my son is really in the wrong, I am willing to compensate you for all your losses." "I'm afraid you can't afford it." Fatso smiled coldly. In fact, the two of them were not talking about the same thing. Fatso was talking about the blood feud of the past. But Patriarch Xia thought that the youth had offended Fatso. Patriarch Xia said confidently, "Don't worry, my Xia family is powerful. There is nothing that my Xia family can't afford." "Haha, what a big tone," Fatso laughed. Shwa! At this moment, Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed, and with the girl, he flew to Fatso's side and secretly said, "We'll talk about your matter later, first help her get justice." From the little girl's clothes, it could be seen that her family was not very well off. As for the Xia family, Patriarch Xia had personally admitted that the Xia family was powerful, so of course, he had to make him bleed. "All right." Fatso nodded, looked at Patriarch Xia, and said, "Your precious son almost ruined her. How do you think you should compensate?" Patriarch Xia looked at the girl and said, "So it's just because of this matter. Speak, what do you want?" "Just because of this matter?" It seems that in the eyes of the Xia family's patriarch, this is only a small matter. But do you know? For a woman, what is the most important thing? That is chastity. What's more, she's only a 15-year-old child. Do you know how much damage this has done to her?" Qin Feiyong said angrily. All right. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. I apologize to you all. Just tell me, what do you want?" Although it was an apology, there was no sincerity in it at all. In fact, there was even a hint of mockery in his eyes. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed with a cold light. "Give her 1 billion gold coins and we'll drop the matter." "What? 1 billion? The Xia family guards and servants who were gathered in the distance all glared at him. 1 billion gold coins. Who knew how many young girls he could buy? Wasn't his appetite a little too big? The girl was also dumbfounded. In her entire life, she had never even seen 1,000 or 2,000, let alone 1 billion. Looking at Patriarch Xia, he was also tongue-tied. He knew that he would be ruthlessly extorted today, but he didn't expect that he would ask for 1 billion right off the bat. Did he think that the Xia family's wealth was free? It was also accumulated little by little. He looked gloomily at Qin Feiyong and said, "Your Excellency, I advise you not to push your luck." Qin Feiyong said expressionlessly, 2 billion. You, Patriarch Xia clenched his hands, almost going crazy. Unexpectedly, it didn't decrease but increased instead. Did he think that there was no one in the Xia family? Qin Feiyong said, "If you dare to say another word, it will be 3 billion. Patriarch Xia gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, I'll give it to you. But please keep your promise and release my son as soon as you get the gold coins." Qin Feiyong said impatiently, "Don't talk nonsense. Go and prepare." Patriarch Xia took a deep breath and shouted, "Grand Elder, quickly bring 2 billion gold coins." He really gave it? The guards and servants looked at each other. He has to give it. Yes, the young master is the Patriarch's lifeblood. If he doesn't agree, what if they really kill him? Sigh. He lost 2 billion gold coins in one go. This young master really knows how to cause trouble. Who is to blame? It's all because the Patriarch usually indulges him too much. As long as he is disciplined a little, he wouldn't have fallen to today's situation. The servants discussed softly. Whoosh! About 100 breaths of time. Accompanied by the sound of breaking through the air, 10 figures rushed over like lightning. Among these 10 people, there were men and women, and they looked rather old. But everyone's eyes were exceptionally spirited, and the aura emitted from their bodies was stronger than Patriarch Xia's. Obviously, they were the 10 elders of the Xia family. The leader was an old man in white, with a ruddy complexion and white hair, full of spirit. However, at this moment, his gaze was somewhat gloomy. Moreover, among these 10 people, his aura was the strongest. He was a 1-star war master. Swish! The old man in white landed in front of Patriarch Xia and looked gloomily at Qin Feiyong and the others. He frowned and said, "Patriarch, are you really going to give it to him?" "Yes." Patriarch Xia nodded and said, "But if you want to take it away, it won't be that easy." The old man in white suddenly realized and took out a Xueqi bag from his bosom. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Young man, it's not too late to regret now." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, "In my dictionary, there is no such word as regret. Quickly throw it over." Humph! The old man in white snorted and threw the Xueqi bag to Qin Feiyong with force. Qin Feiyong stretched out his hand and caught it. He smiled and said, "Thank you." Patriarch Xia said, "Cut the crap, quickly let him go." Qin Feiyong turned a deaf ear and looked down at the young girl. He smiled and said, "Little sister, I'll send you to your grandfather now." Thank you, big brother. The young girl was very sensible, but her face was full of panic.
Because the eyes of Patriarch Xia and the 10 elders made her feel afraid.
Big brother is here. Don't be afraid. Qin Feiyong comforted her with a smile and then flew towards the Xia family's gate with the young girl. Shua! But at this time, the great elder took a step forward and stood in front of Qin Feiyong. He gloomily said, "You haven't let him go and you want to leave?" Qin Feiyong lightly said, "My people are also here, what's the hurry? Can I trust you? What if you take her and run away?" The great elder sneered. Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, "But I also don't trust your Xia family. What if I let your young master go and you all besiege us?" The great elder's eyes darkened and said, "I don't want to listen to this nonsense. In short, before I let him go, none of you are allowed to leave." Qin Feiyong sighed and said, "You're making it difficult for me." The great elder sneered and said, "You're also making it difficult for me. Is that so?" Qin Feiyong pursed his lips and smiled. He looked down at the young girl and said with a smile, "Little sister, close your eyes." The young girl obediently closed her eyes at once. The great elder looked at the young girl and looked at Qin Feiyong. He frowned and said, "What do you want to do?" "What do I want to do?" Qin Feiyong laughed and said, "I didn't want to kill in front of this little girl, but there's no other way. You're too insensible." Finished. Qin Feiyong's eyes instantly became extremely sharp, like pieces of blade. Following closely, he raised his arm and pointed his index finger in the air. Boom! An invisible force gushed out like a torrent. In an instant, it swept across the sky and drowned the great elder. Before the great elder of the Xia family could react, accompanied by a shrill scream, blood splattered across the sky, and not even his bones were left. What? Patriarch Xia's heart trembled. The other 9 elders were also dumbfounded. The people below, even their eyeballs were about to pop out. How powerful was the great elder? But he was actually killed in one move. Was this a dream? However, Qin Feiyong acted as if he had done an extremely ordinary thing. There was not the slightest ripple in his heart. He turned his head and looked at Fatso. He smiled and said, "Do it." Finished. Qin Feiyong took the young girl and flew towards the door without looking back. At the same time, Fatso smiled sinisterly. His big hand suddenly shrank and directly crushed the young boy's neck. Before dying, the young boy let out a painful scream. This scream made Patriarch Xia and the others suddenly come back to their senses. They hurriedly looked over. When they saw the dead young boy, they immediately gritted their teeth and cracked their eyes. "Why did you kill him? Why did you have to be so vicious?" Patriarch Xia's eyes were red as he roared hysterically. Qin Feiyong stuffed it into the old man's hands and said with a smile, "Take this wealth and live a good life." "This won't do." The old man cried out anxiously. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, "Keep it. You deserve it." This. The old man hesitated. Suddenly, he took the young girl and knelt on the ground with a plop, saying, "Young man, this old man really has no way to repay today's kindness. Please accept a bow from us grandfather and grandson." Don't. Qin Feiyong hurriedly stepped forward and helped the 2 of them up, saying, "It's just a small matter. Don't be so polite." Then, he rubbed the young girl's head and said with a smile, "Take good care of Grandpa in the future." "I will." The young girl nodded obediently. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and said with a smile, "Go. Big brother, I will remember you for the rest of my life, and that fat brother." The young girl smiled shyly, supported the old man, and turned to walk towards the crowd. The crowd in front also automatically retreated and made a path. But Qin Feiyong suddenly noticed that there were some people in the crowd who looked at the Chenkuan bag in the old man's hand with a hint of greed in their eyes. Immediately, Qin Feiyong frowned. These people were obviously jealous of this wealth. After all, 2 billion gold coins was not a small amount. Many people could not earn it in several lifetimes. And this grandfather and grandson pair, without the strength to truss a chicken, would probably not be able to escape death in the end. Thinking of this, he said with a smile, "Old man, wait." The grandfather and grandson stopped. The old man looked back at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Young man, do you have any orders?" Qin Feiyang said, "I don't know if you trust me?" "Of course I trust you." The old man nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "Well, I'll send you to a place. There, as long as you don't show your wealth, there won't be any trouble."
Don't show your wealth. The old man pondered over this sentence and suddenly came to a realization.
He looked at the crowd in front of him vigilantly, turned to Qin Feiyang, and bowed. "Thank you, young man." Qin Feiyang smiled, took out a teleportation door, and quickly opened it. The grandfather and grandson pair thanked him again and again before walking into the teleportation door. Seeing the grandfather and grandson pair leave, the people who were tempted by the wealth couldn't help but feel a trace of disappointment. When the teleportation door disappeared, Qin Feiyang soared into the sky, flying towards Fatso and the others. Whoosh! At this time, a black-clothed old man appeared in the air above the lake, full of killing intent. It was Xia Chongfeng. As soon as Xia Chongfeng appeared, he scanned the surrounding void.
Seeing that there were no signs of the 9 elders, he immediately looked towards Fatso and shouted, "Where are they?"
"Sorry, you're late. They're already dead." Fatso laughed mischievously. "Damn it." Xia Chongfeng was furious. Fatso looked Xia Chongfeng up and down, and said playfully, "Xia Chongfeng, it's only been 10 years since we last met. How come you've become so old?" Xia Chongfeng frowned. "What do you mean? Have we met before?" "Of course we have. It's just that you've forgotten about Fat Lord. But Fat Lord has never forgotten about you." Fatso's expression changed, and a cold light flashed.
He twisted his hand, and with a painful scream, the Xia family head's throat was crushed on the spot.
"Who are you?
Why are you so ruthless?"
Xia Chongfeng roared, his eyes bloodshot. "Who am I?"
Fatso lowered his head, as if thinking about the past.
"Xia Chongfeng, do you still remember me?" At this time, Situ Hai soared into the sky, standing next to Fatso, hatefully glaring at Xia Chongfeng. Xia Chongfeng suspiciously looked at Situ Hai, and suddenly seemed to remember something.
His gaze fiercely trembled, and he angrily said, "You're Situ Hai."
"Haha, you still remember me? I thought you'd also forgotten about me."
Situ Hai laughed like a madman.
"Who is Situ Hai?" On the streets around the Xia family, some people suspiciously asked. "I think I've heard this name before, but I can't remember." Some people frowned. Another person said, "I know this Situ Hai. He's the Situ family's housekeeper." "I also remember. 10 years ago, the Situ family was like the sun at noon in our capital. They were the strongest family, and no one could compare. But later, the palace master found out that the Situ family's ancestor had rebelled, and ordered the extermination of the family. From then on, the Situ family became history, and was gradually forgotten by people. But I never thought that the Situ family's housekeeper would still be alive. Now that he's returned, it should be for revenge. But the Situ family's extermination was due to the crime of rebellion. What does it have to do with the Xia family?" Everyone was puzzled. In the sky above the lake, Qin Feiyang, Wolf King, and Lu Xingchen were all silently standing behind Fatso, looking at Xia Chongfeng. Xia Chongfeng was also silently looking at Situ Hai, his expression uncertain. This place fell into a deathly stillness. Only Situ Hai's crazy laughter reverberated between heaven and earth, unable to calm down for a long time. And that laughter was filled with resentment, anger, and unwillingness. "Haha." Fatso suddenly shook his head and laughed. "It's been 10 years. Fat Lord left his hometown and suffered pain and torture, but you're free and unfettered in the capital, enjoying glory and wealth. Xia Chongfeng, don't you feel uneasy?" Fatso raised his head to look at Xia Chongfeng, his entire body exuding an unresolvable sadness. Xia Chongfeng's pupils shrank, and he said in a deep voice, "Who are you?" "Fat Lord, I'm a descendant of the Situ family. Fat Lord's father is the Situ family's patriarch who died tragically at your hands, Situ Hong. Now, you better listen carefully to Fat Lord. Fat Lord's name is Situ Tianyu." Fatso shouted. His gaze was like a sharp blade, overbearing. His aura was ostentatious, his long hair and clothes rustling in the wind. At this time,
He was like a demon god descending to the world, his entire body filled with a bone-chilling coldness.
Situ Tianyu? Xia Chongfeng frowned. This name was somewhat familiar. Suddenly, a light flashed in his mind. Situ Hong did indeed have such a son, but he remembered that Situ Tianyu's talent was very mediocre, and he would never be able to become a great person. But now, after only a dozen years, how did he become so strong?
Fatso smiled. Do you remember now?
Xia Chongfeng shook his head. No, with your talent, it's impossible to break through to Battle Master so quickly. Who are you? Speak. Xia Chongfeng practically roared out those last words. Fatso chuckled. You still remember my mediocre talent. Looks like you haven't had a good time these years. Xia Chongfeng's face immediately twisted. He had indeed had a hard time these years. Because he knew that the Situ family still had some fish that had escaped the net, he was afraid that the Situ family would come to find him for revenge. Therefore, he had been very careful these past 10 years. At the same time, he had also been tracking down the remaining fish that had escaped the net, and Situ Hai was his main target. But after so many years, there had been no news at all. This was like a thorn that had been stuck in his heart, making him unable to calm down. Fatso suddenly smiled and asked, Xia Chongfeng, do you regret it now? Xia Chongfeng's 10 fingers tightly clenched together, the killing intent in his eyes undisguised. Why are you looking at Fat Lord?
Fat Lord asked you if you regret it, didn't you hear? Fatso couldn't help but roar as he spoke. Killing intent burst out from his eyes. Boom! His index finger pointed in the air, and a black dragon battle chi appeared, roaring like lightning. Accompanied by an earth-shaking explosion, a third of the Xia family's residence was instantly turned to ashes.
Chapter 673. Seeing this scene, Xia Chongfeng clenched his fists, his face twisted, and his body overflowed with hostility. He didn't care about the guards and servants. Even if they all died, it didn't matter. Because the Xia family was rich and powerful, as long as they made a call, a large number of people would rush into the Xia family, willing to be cattle or horses. But those direct descendants were the future pillars of the Xia family. In order to train them, the Xia family had spent a lot of effort and money, but now, in just an instant, countless people had died. His heart was bleeding. Now do you know the taste of heartache? Back then, watching you mercilessly slaughter my Situ family, Fat Lord's heart was also bleeding. Fat Lord can't remember how many people there were in the Situ family at that time. But Fat Lord remembers that blood dyed the earth, corpses were everywhere, and there were screams of despair. Those sinister faces of yours are just like those demons. They're disgusting and nauseating. Now, Fat Lord will ask you again. Do you regret it? Fatso took a deep breath and looked at Xia Chongfeng with a faint smile. Xia Chongfeng laughed sinisterly. I only regret that I didn't kill you back then. Is that so? Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world. Fatso shook his head, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Boom! He stretched out his arm and waved it, causing black dragon battle chi to flood downwards. You dare! Xia Chongfeng's expression changed, and he hurriedly sent out a palm. Battle chi surged, turning into a torrent that rushed towards the black dragon battle chi. Boom! The two streams of battle chi collided like comets, creating a deafening explosion. Both of them took a step back. 2-star battle ancestor? I didn't think that after so many years, your cultivation would only improve a little. You really disappoint, Fat Lord. Fatso shook his head. Little bastard, don't think that just because your cultivation is the same as mine, you have the qualifications to challenge me. Let me tell you, you're still too inexperienced. Xia Chongfeng's hair stood on end, and his battle chi surged. Clang! In an instant, a black war blade appeared out of nowhere. It was several dozen zhong in length as it hovered in the air, emitting an exceptional sharpness. Fatso's pupils shrank as he patted his chest and exclaimed, Is this a battle art? It's so powerful. Fat Lord is so scared. However, there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. What kind of person was Xia Chongfeng? Naturally, he could tell that Fatso was toying with him. A trace of ruthlessness immediately appeared on his old face. Little bastard, if you keep hiding, this city lord really won't be able to find you. But you're too stupid. You actually came to me on your own accord. Now, I will send you to the underworld to reunite with your clansmen. He smiled sinisterly and waved his hand. Clang! The black blade trembled in the air, creating a deafening sound. Then, with an astonishing sharpness, it slashed towards Fatso. Fat Lord is stupid? Fatso stared blankly for a moment before he raised his head and laughed. You dare to spout such arrogant words with your meager strength? Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Fatso activated the dragon transformation art and instantly transformed into a dragon warrior. A terrifying aura spread out in all directions. He took a step forward, causing the void to tremble as he punched the black blade. Clang! The blade disintegrated on the spot. Puff! Xia Chongfeng spat out a mouthful of blood as he looked at Fatso in shock. This aura had actually reached the level of a 6-star battle ancestor. Old man, today, Fat Lord will destroy your Xia family and bury you with my Situ family. Fatso roared towards the sky as his dragon claws shot out. Waves of black dragon battle chi blasted into the mansion below like waves of lightning. Rumble! Crack! In just an instant, the entire Xia family was razed to the ground and turned into ruins. Everyone in the Xia family had been reduced to ashes along with the destruction of the Xia family mansion. It's gone, it's all gone, Xia Chongfeng muttered to himself as he looked at the ruins below. He was unable to accept this cruel reality. Little bastard, you should be cut into pieces. Suddenly, Xia Chongfeng raised his head to look at Fatso, his old eyes filled with killing intent. Chirp! Immediately after, following a sharp chirp, a huge monster soared into the sky from behind him. It was a falcon with a wingspan of over 100 meters. Its body was completely black and cast a large shadow. It was Xia Chongfeng's battle soul. Die, you bastard! Xia Chongfeng roared hysterically. The falcon immediately swooped down, its entire body filled with an imposing aura. That pair of eagle eyes was emitting a frightening and ferocious light. Fatso raised his head to look at the falcon, his eyes filled with disdain. Whoosh! He leapt up and stepped on the falcon's head. The falcon let out a mournful cry as it disintegrated. What? Xia Chongfeng's eyes widened in anger. His battle soul had been destroyed with a single step. Even if he was strong, he couldn't be this strong. Whoosh! While Xia Chongfeng was in a daze, Fatso stepped forward and landed behind him. Then, he whispered in Xia Chongfeng's ear, old man, it seems like you've exhausted all your abilities. That Fat Lord should send you on your way. Xia Chongfeng immediately quivered, his back unable to stop a chill from running. He began to flee without hesitation. Nah. He didn't even have the courage to turn around and look at Fatso. His heart was filled with fear. However, just as he took a step forward, a heart-wrenching pain came from his back. Then, he felt a large hand burrowing into his body and grabbing his heart. In that instant, it was as if he had been struck by lightning, his body and mind trembling. He didn't need to think to know that the owner of that hand was Fatso. Don't, child, I was wrong. Please be merciful and spare my life. Xia Chongfeng begged, his old face filled with panic. Because if Fatso used even the slightest bit of force, he would die on the spot. Fatso said in bewilderment, back then when you slaughtered my family, they also begged for mercy. Why didn't you show mercy? Back then, I did participate in that matter. But the real masterminds were those two old bastards from the He and Yuan families. At most, I could only be considered an accomplice. If you want revenge, you should go find them. Xia Chongfeng panicked. Fatso frowned. Is that so? It's really like that. I can swear to the heavens. Xia Chongfeng nodded, anxiously saying. Then touch your conscience and tell me, did my Situ family rebel back then? While speaking, Fatso gave Qin Feiyang a meaningful glance. Qin Feiyang understood and secretly took out an image crystal, quietly activating it. But Xia Chongfeng stammered, unable to say a complete sentence for a long time. Fatso said, as long as you tell the truth now, Fat Lord will spare your life. Really? Xia Chongfeng was delighted. Fat Lord always keeps his word. Besides, you don't have a choice now. Fatso sneered. Okay. I'll tell you everything. Back then, your Situ family didn't rebel.
I clearly remember that it was those two old bastards from the He and Yuan families who saw that your Situ family was getting stronger and stronger, so they had evil intentions and framed your Situ family. They were also the ones who instigated the mansion master to destroy your Situ family. Xia Chongfeng, who had fallen into panic, finally spat out the truth and cleared the Situ family's name. Qin Feiyang also waved his hand, and a white stream of light flew out of the image crystal and swept into the sky. Soon, a huge image unfolded in the sky above the East City. It was the scene recorded earlier, including the conversation between Xia Chongfeng and Fatso. At this moment, the entire East City fell into a deathly silence. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the image in the sky. After a while, the image ended. The East City immediately boiled over. So it turns out that the Situ family was framed back then. The Yuan, He, and Xia families are really despicable. They framed the loyal and spread rumors to mislead the public. They must pay with their blood, that's right. Although this matter happened more than 10 years ago, we can't let the loyal and the people of the Situ family die with grievances. The people were filled with righteous indignation. They had never seen such a despicable and shameless person. The Situ family could become stronger and stronger because they were capable. What was the meaning of slandering them and framing them behind their backs? Even if they were jealous, they couldn't be so despicable. At the same time, Fatso also closed his eyes, and 2 drops of tears rolled down his cheeks. These were tears of joy. Situ Hai was also muttering to himself, and tears were also streaming down his face. My Situ family has been wrong for more than 10 years, and today, we finally cleared our name. Patriarch, elders, clansmen, you can rest in peace in the netherworld. Hearing these words, Qin Feiyang, Lu Xingchen, and Wolf King couldn't help but sigh. The greatest pain in life was being wronged. Although the Situ family had been exterminated more than 10 years ago, they still carried the crime of betrayal. One could imagine how many people had cursed them behind their backs all these years. Now that the truth was out, as the only descendant and steward of the Situ family, how could they not be happy and excited? However, Xia Chongfeng was extremely anxious at this moment. This was because Fatso still hadn't let go of him. Seeing that Fatso didn't speak for a long time, Xia Chongfeng finally couldn't help but take the initiative to ask, Tianyu, can you let me go now? Swish! Fatso opened his eyes, and 2 rays of cold light shot out. Then, he clenched his 5 fingers and squeezed Xia Chongfeng's heart without hesitation. Ah! Xia Chongfeng immediately let out a painful howl that resounded through the sky. Back then, you slaughtered so many of my Situ family's people, and now you still want to live? Is that even possible? Fatso sneered and pulled back his hand. Xia Chongfeng was powerless to chase after him. Little bastard, don't be so proud. Soon you'll come down to accompany me. He bitterly looked at Fatso. His face twisted as he hysterically screamed. Finally! With a bang, Xia Chongfeng fell into the ruins, and died on the spot. The people who will accompany you will not be me, but the Yuan family and the He family. Fatso muttered. He glanced at Xia Chongfeng's corpse, then looked at Situ Hai and said, Uncle Hai, go to the Yuan family. Situ Hai nodded heavily and immediately opened a teleportation gate. Chapter 674. Boom! But at this moment, 10 terrifying auras suddenly descended. Qin Feiyang and the others looked over and saw 10 silhouettes appearing out of thin air not far away from them. There were men and women, old and young among the 10 people, and the aura they exuded was also different. But without exception, they were all war masters. Greetings, 10 great commanders. As soon as the 10 people appeared, the crowd on the streets around the Xia family knelt on the ground and kowtowed. 10 great commanders. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. The 10 great commanders glanced at the Xia family below and their faces suddenly darkened. Swish! Then, the 10 of them looked at Qin Feiyang and the others in unison, and their eyes flashed with a shocking light. One of them stood out. This was a burly man, about 1.9 meters tall. His upper body was exposed, and his bronze-colored skin and bulging muscles were filled with a wild aura. Moreover, this person's aura was stronger than the other 9 people. The burly man looked at Qin Feiyang and the others and said in a deep voice, Who are you? Why are you doing such a heartless thing? Without asking for the reason, You just said that Fat Lord is heartless. You are really the same as that old witch. In that case, Fat Lord will show you what it means to be truly heartless. Fatso laughed angrily and did not say another word.
He turned around and stepped into the portal.
Situ Hai coldly glanced at the 10 people, and also stepped into the portal without looking back.
Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't meddle in other people's business. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and walked in with Lu Xingchen and Wolf King.
The 10 great commanders were stunned. In the face of their interrogation, not only did they not tell the truth, but they also turned around and left.
And before they left, they even threatened them? This was too arrogant.
After one of them came back to his senses, he immediately said angrily, "How dare they? They have no respect for the law."
Yes, we can't let them go. The others nodded in agreement. However, at this moment, the portal had already dissipated. They did not know where to find Qin Feiyong and the others.
The burly man suddenly said, "Did you guys notice that the black-clothed old man and the white-clothed young man are somewhat familiar?"
The black-clothed old man was referring to Situ Hai. As for the young man in white, he was referring to Qin Feiyong.
The other 9 people thought about it seriously. One of the middle-aged women said in surprise, "Now that you mention it, it does seem a little familiar."
Boom. At this moment, a deafening sound came from the direction of the South City.
It was like a sudden clap of thunder, shaking all directions.
What happened?
The 10 commanders looked over, their eyes filled with bewilderment.
At this moment,
someone below said, "Lord Commander, I vaguely heard that they were going to the Yuan clan."
What?
The patriarch of the He clan, the 10 elders, countless disciples, including those servants and guards, all died before they could figure out what was going on. The 10 commanders were dumbfounded.
The He clan was destroyed just like that? Whoosh. The next moment,
the 10 of them looked at Fatso, their eyes flashing fiercely.
However, Fatty didn't pay any attention to them. His eyes were fixed on the ruins below. He was looking for the He clan's patriarch. Who did it? All of a sudden, an angry roar exploded in the ruins below. Then,
a red-haired old man with disheveled hair and a dirty face soared into the sky, his entire body covered in blood. But when he saw the 10 commanders, the red-haired old man couldn't help but be stunned.
"Old dog he, long time no see." At this time, Fatso sneered.
The red-haired old man raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Fatso. He frowned and said, "Who are you?" Fatso said with a smile, "You've seen me when I was young."
"Seen?"
The red-haired old man looked up and down at Fatso for a moment and said angrily, "Who the hell are you?
Did you do all of this?"
"Yes, it was Fat Lord who did it." "As for who Fat Lord is..."
Fatso's eyes turned cold. "Listen carefully, Fat Lord is Situ Hong's son, Situ Tianyu."
"What?
Situ Hong."
The red-haired old man's eyes trembled.
"Do you remember now?
Fat Lord has already destroyed the Yuan and Xia clans, and I killed Xia Chongfeng.
Now it's your turn." Fatso said. "You killed Xia Chongfeng?"
The red-haired old man was surprised. Fatso licked his lips and said with a smile, "Yes, he died very miserably. Fat Lord personally crushed his heart."
"Tell me, how do you want to die?"
"Situ Tianyu, don't go too far. Back then, it was because your Situ clan rebelled that they were exterminated." The burly man shouted angrily.
"Shut up."
Fatso shouted coldly and suddenly looked at the burly man. His eyes were incomparably crazy.
"What do you know? What qualifications do you have to talk nonsense here?" The burly man frowned. Whoosh. Chapter 675.
The burly man frowned and looked at the patriarch of the He clan.
The patriarch of the He clan felt a little guilty.
He pretended to be calm and looked at Fatso.
"Everyone in Yunzhou knows about the Situ clan's rebellion. What do you mean by that?"
"Old dog, you're still lying." Before Fatso could say anything, Situ Hai roared.
"I didn't do anything wrong. What's there to lie about?"
"But you killed everyone in the He clan.
How are you going to settle the score?"
The He clan's patriarch stared at them with a cold glint in his eyes. You! Situ Hai was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. He framed the Situ clan and made them suffer for more than 10 years. Now he was playing the blame game. He was so shameless. What about me? Let me tell you. If you don't give me a satisfactory explanation, don't even think about leaving. The patriarch of the He clan sneered. Old dog, I'll kill you. Situ Hai roared. He had completely lost his mind and lunged at the patriarch of the He clan. Fatso frowned. He grabbed Situ Hai's arm and shouted, Uncle Hai, calm down. Situ Hai roared. He still won't admit it. How can I calm down? Fatso smiled. Have you forgotten? We have evidence now. He has to admit it even if he doesn't want to. That's right. We have evidence. Situ Hai shuddered. He turned to Qin Feiyong and said, Little brother, please show us the evidence. We have evidence. The patriarch of the He clan narrowed his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. He took out the image crystal and waved his hand. The recorded image appeared in the sky again. The patriarch of the He clan's face turned pale when he saw the image. The crowd gathered on the street below also roared with righteous indignation. Hidakai, how are you? Not only did you lie to all of us, but you also lied to the mansion master. How should you be punished? As soon as the image ended, the 10 great commanders looked at the patriarch of the He clan. No, I didn't do it. Xia Chongfeng is slandering me. The He clan's ancestor hurriedly shook his head. He looked at the burly man and said, Brother Mo, you must believe me. I am innocent. The burly man shouted, The evidence is conclusive, and you're still quibbling. You're really stubborn. Take him down. The other 9 commanders nodded and immediately surrounded the He clan's patriarch. Seeing this, the old ancestor of the He family panicked. Suddenly, he turned to look at Fatso and roared, Little bastard, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Boom. His aura erupted as he charged towards Fatso without looking back. His eyes were brimming with killing intent. 3-star war sect? Fatso was startled for a moment before he disdainfully said, You're a bit stronger than that trash Xia Chongfeng. But if you want to drag Fat Lord down with you, you're still lacking. He took a step forward, advancing instead of retreating. Die! When the two of them met, they roared at the same time and punched each other with all their might. Boom! Ah! The 2 fists fiercely collided. Xia Chongfeng screamed miserably and was sent flying on the spot. Following closely, his body exploded in the air, and blood dyed the sky red. So strong. The pupils of the 10 commanders shrank. A mere 2-star war sect had actually killed a 3-star war sect in an instant? This was too crazy. However, they did not know that Fatso, in his dragon warrior state, could unleash the strength of a 6-star war sect with just a raise of his hand. Although the He family's ancestor was a 3-star war sect, because he was too impatient earlier, he did not use any battle arts. With just his flesh and blood, how could he be a match for Fatso? However, after killing the He family's ancestor, Fatso's killing intent did not dissipate. Because he still had his greatest enemy. That was the Cloud State Palace chief. However, he also knew that with his current strength, he was still not a match for the Cloud State Palace chief. Taking a deep breath, he turned around and landed beside Qin Feiyong, smiling. Boss, we can go now. Qin Feiyong nodded. You are not allowed to leave. However, at this moment, the tall and sturdy man waved his hand, and the 9 commanders immediately surrounded Qin Feiyong and the others. Why? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Although the He family, Yuan family, and Xia family framed the Situ family in the early years, you have violated the rules of the state capital by killing so many people in the state capital. You must wait for the palace chief to return and personally decide. Please rest assured that the palace chief will handle this impartially. The tall and sturdy man said. Haha. That old witch will handle this impartially? Are you joking? The fatty laughed out loud. His laughter was full of sarcasm. The tall and sturdy man's face darkened as he shouted. Don't be rude to the palace chief. Humph. Calling her an old witch, Fat Lord has already shown mercy. If you really want to say it, she's not even as good as an idiot. She's simply an idiot. Fatso coldly snorted. His words were merciless. Killing intent flashed in the tall and sturdy man's eyes as he waved his hand and said, "Take him down."
Boom!
The aura of the 9 great commanders exploded.
At this moment, Lu Xingchen's mind moved and the group instantly disappeared without a trace.
Where did he go?
The 9 great commanders were shocked and hurriedly scanned the void around them.
The tall and sturdy man was also bewildered.
How could they disappear into thin air? No. He seemed to have heard of such a situation before. It's him. All of a sudden,
the tall and sturdy man exclaimed as a strong cold light burst out from his eyes.
Who?
The other 9 great commanders looked at him in shock.
Qin Feiyang.
The tall and sturdy man said word by word.
Yes, it's him. When the palace chiefs of He Province, Kong Province, and Serene Province learn about this from Tan Wu and the others, won't they hate us? So, they will definitely tell these things to the palace chiefs of the other provinces as soon as possible.
That's why the palace chiefs of the 9 provinces came to our spiritual state one after another.
Lu Xingchen smiled faintly.
That makes sense.
Fatso nodded. But what puzzles me is, why did the palace chiefs of Feng Province and Yu Province come to our spiritual state?
To join in the fun?
Lu Xingchen frowned.
Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "When we go back and see the old master, we'll know when we ask him."
Okay. Lu Xingchen nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang, asking, "What about now? Do we go back or continue to observe?"
Qin Feiyang said, "Let's wait a little longer.
I want to know how they plan to deal with us." Spiritual state. At the Palace Master's mansion. At this moment, the Yunzhou Palace Master was standing in the conference hall, raging at the old master. "Old man Ren, you heard it all. This is the young man of your spiritual state. He's simply lawless." She was about to explode in anger. After learning about the death of Mo Wuxian and the others, she was already furious. She thought to herself that this time, she must make Qin Feiyang pay the price. But she never expected that as soon as she came to the spiritual state, this Qin Feiyang would actually go and raid her nest? This was too much.
Then, he looked at the old man.
His head was lowered, and his brows were tightly knitted together. He did not say a single word. Previously, when Mo Jun sent a message to the Yunzhou Palace Master, the Yunzhou Palace Master didn't avoid it, so he heard it all. Not only did he hear it, but the other palace masters in the conference hall also heard it and were all in disbelief. Because they all knew that the Xia family, the He family, and the Yuan family were superfamilies in Yunzhou. Moreover, the ancestors of the 3 families were highly valued by the Yunzhou Palace Master, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were his right-hand men. But this Qin Feiyang actually destroyed the 3 great clans in an instant. Wasn't this clearly going against the Cloud State's Mansion Master? You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.